Hold on.
Go.
Might help if I turn the mic on. We got some new music.
I thought it was Dream Weaver coming on.
That's it. That's it. No. I think this is a perfect intro for us. Actually, it's Fleetwood Mac.
Oh.
Doing the intro, yeah.
What song?
Let me see, what is that? Everywhere. Do you hear me calling?
When was that released?
1960. 1970, would have been 75, I guess.
Yeah.
75 or 6, somewhere in there. No, it had to be 76 because, because that's when I was in California, the first year of seminary, and when I worked, we used to listen to. Yeah. That album came out.
Yeah, them and Heart were two big female vocal rock bands that just owned the scene, the charts. Amazing. Classic 70s rock is the best rock.
Yeah, my favorite era was the 80s, but from mid to the end of the 70s was really good. But more superstars came out of the 80s than I think at any other time, that with the lasting music. Because if you think about it, you think about Michael Jackson, solo. And then you had Hall & Oates, who were the biggest selling, Now you had the big groups.
Yeah, the big stage performances with almost Philharmonic quality, like Kansas would do.
Well, yeah.
Or really, Eagles even were good.
Right. The Eagles, but you can name on one hand all those. But
Foreigner,
Well, no, Foreigner actually didn't come along till the 80s. That was the 80s.
Really?
Yeah. The Foreigner was the 80s. Kansas was 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Fleetwood Mac, Eagles.
Yeah,
but
Alabama, Boston.
Well, Alabama, I don't know. That was a whole different genre, the country thing.
Yeah, but Southern rock.
I'm talking about the big pop and rock.
Yeah, Boston.
And what?
Frampton Comes Alive.
Yeah, but they weren't as big as, like if you think of Def Leppard, who all else came out? Yeah. Michael Jackson, really. Prince.
I knew Journey in the 70s, and then in the 80s, oh my God.
Right. That's when everything exploded. And then, but also, if you look at the British bands, that's when all the British bands were. Tears for Fears, who's one of the greatest ever. There was the British pretty much took over the 80s.
But you know what I didn't like about 80s was the new wave stuff.
Oh, no, yeah.
I just, no.
I think I told you a story how in Germany, well, you've heard of thrash metal. You should know because your son was in that whole. Mm-hmm. He didn't play thrash, but he was a
industrial rock.
Yeah, it was just really wild, and that's what all of the what they call that when they would run into each other.
Slam dancing,
and all of that, But anyway, what was always funny because I couldn't stand that stuff, because it was just not melodic. To me, you got to have melody and harmony, as they say, to create music.
Yeah.
But what's funny? So it was funny. The Germans can't say a th, so they would say, "Oh, we like that trash rock."
Yeah.
I said, "Oh yeah, that's a trash. It's trash rock is what exactly. That's a fitting name." So I always call it trash rock instead of thrash or thrash metal. It's actually thrash metal, and they call it trash metal.
Well, I always heard it as industrial rock. Creed, for instance, was kind of
no. Thrash is just it's just a bunch of guys screaming,
headbanger music.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And it's not melodic. Creed, I didn't really like them at first, but afterward I got to appreciate because at least the guy could sing. It had a melody to it. It was good, and it was. Looked like there was something with the production.
And the lyrics were really good.
Right. But this thrash is just
Yeah.
Just a bunch of guys up there. Yeah, like you said, head banging and
well, Switchfoot
by the way,
kind of got into that.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to start everything.
No. We're recorded live here, so don't worry about it. Just hit record there, and we'll have our backup for the rest of it.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So we're good to go. For those of you that tune in early and watch us live from the beginning. Oh, you know what? I hit two buttons at one time. There we go.
No, you got your Bluetooth, your next song, I think.
No, because the Bluetooth is off. See, it's all the way down. Okay. This was this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
what's it?
Salvador.
Salvador, yeah.
Salvador's who that was.
And where are they from?
Texas.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, is it St. Angelo? Yep. St. Angelo. Mexican group. But
man, have we got
my favorite Christian band.
Big news week this week.
Okay, thank you for getting us into segueing into this week of music of news, man. Okay, I'm here now. All right. Hey, so I'll let you begin. So, what do we start with all of the stuff? Oh gosh,
we have got scandals. Yes, in huge whistleblower news. Alex Jones just, kind of did this Project Veritas expose. Bill Barr.
Okay, wait. Okay. Alex Jones didn't do an expose on.
Well, he was the first media to cover it.
Right. No, but what I'm saying, he didn't do an expose on Project Veritas. He just did the expose that Project Veritas had, even though he never started. Yeah, because, Project Veritas, the stuff that they do, and what's his name? The guy who started Project Veritas. I can't remember his name. Now has his own thing. But unless the media picks up his stories, right,
nobody knows about it.
Right.
But Bill Barr, who was Trump's second AG, was out to get him. And we got the goods on it. And his secretary has come forward with all the notes. So you've got that going on. Of course, Comey and Clapper and Obama. Mm-hmm. And they all think that they're safe because of, can we fade this down? I'm hearing the music.
I don't know where you
take this one down. There we go.
Is it gone?
Yeah.
Okay. But see, that wasn't even on.
I could hear it here.
Oh, it must be a monitor then. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
You're just jealous because the voices speak to me.
Well, I'm starting to wonder if you're hearing voices that no one else is hearing because I didn't hear anything.
So, but here's the thing. Obama thought, oh, good, I'm clear. What happened in 2016 with this whole Russia collusion narrative that was just made up.
Right.
They think, all right, we're fine because statute of limitations is only 5 years. Mm-hmm. But guess what? This is the narrative some people believe is Trump, when he left the White House in January of 21, took a whole bunch of documents with him.
Right.
They didn't say what's in there. They're concerned this deep state coup effort that he may be hanging on to documents that prove our collusion. And they think that's why
the FBI went after
Jack Smith, called for it and got the search warrant. And they went in there at gunpoint. Mm-hmm. And Christina Bobb literally was told, threat of violence, you leave this premises while we're in here.
Right.
They could not even.
Yeah, they wouldn't even let them be within. And
they wouldn't let them observe.
They wouldn't even let the Secret Service be in.
Yes. And she's his attorney. She is an officer of the court.
Right.
And they wouldn't let her observe.
Right.
Well, of course, they were planting documents in there. They caught him with that, spreading it, taking pictures and everything, because it was all about the image thing. Well, anyway, because that action took place, one in Florida, but more importantly, took place in 2021 in the fall, we're still within the 5 years statute of limitations for a conspiracy that's ongoing. So if you can prove that this is a conspiracy with several actors all acting at different times in different ways, then all of them are still on the hook. And so I think that's the way the Justice Department's going to go after him.
Right. But Bill Barr was he still the Attorney General at the beginning of the Biden?
It wouldn't matter. But
no, because we started out talking about the, accusations against Bill Barr. I just wanted to know how he fits into this.
Because his secretary, who took all the notes of all the meetings, every week they meet, she's come forward now. She hung on to her spiral notepads with all of her notes and to Project Veritas. And says, here's all the evidence here, contemporaneous notes that she took. And she said he was deeply involved in this. And Armstrong Williams was one, a media figure that, was involved in it, Clapper and Brennan and all them. And they would meet about a bunch of different issues.
Right.
A lot of it is, for kickback money, getting billionaires visas to come to the United States without having to jump through all the hoops.
But one of them was of a conspiracy to get Donald Trump.
Yeah, she has plenty of notes because they kept on meeting on. And evidently that was part of the deal, was we've got to find out and get those documents so that he can't use them against us later, should he come back into power. And the whole thing is, Bill Barr has said in that, says we have to prevent him from being able to run. And that's where the whole lawfare thing was, planned.
Did Trump ever get all the documents back, as far as you know? Do you know? Well,
he now is, because he's president.
Well, that's true, wherever they were, unless they were, you don't think they were destroyed, any of them? I mean, if they were smart, that's what I don't understand, how they're able to find stuff today that is so damning against the prior administration. Yeah, you would think they would have gotten, and it's the hubris of them thinking, oh, we're going to win it again, so they'll never be able to look into this.
If you remember, all of the counts of, how many years would he be in prison for stealing government documents, right? If he took pictures of everything and kept those pictures cataloged separately to where he has evidence that they did destroy it, the document was here and now it's gone after you guys came in and raided the place, then those people go to prison for that and more.
For destroying, Yeah,
and keep in mind, this is the highest security officers in the United States are the ones guilty of this.
Right.
You when it's somebody in leadership does it, you got to throw the book at them and then some.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. But, isn't it funny how it's so typical that you always seem to catch Democrats guilty of the very thing that they're accusing the Republican of?
Yeah.
And it's because, and the reason for it is because they know that they're doing this, so they just want to assume they can get the other guys for doing it, even whether they are or not.
Or could be because if we accuse them and they say, see, it's just an empty accusation. Then when they get accused of it, people are like, no, that was an empty accusation. It wasn't. They were actually
they were actually doing what they were trying to accuse. Right.
So you've got multiple things going on. Now, Fannie Willis, who's part of the lawfare, she's under an active criminal probe by the Justice Department.
She's the DA in Atlanta, Fannie Willis.
Right. Well, and then who's that one in New York? The Attorney General of the state of New York.
Yeah.
She's
in 2 states. She's under a criminal indictment in Virginia. For having a home, saying she was a resident of
mortgage fraud.
And then she's under indictment in New York City for lying on her worth, in a loan. She was getting apparently subsidies or something, and she was lying about her income or something. It's a financial fraud type of deal on documents. So it's just crazy because that's what she was trying to get Trump on, because she was trying to devalue Mar-a-Lago. Remember, she was trying to say Mar-a-Lago is only worth $110 million or something, and Come on, we've got houses in Tulsa that are worth 100 and some, or properties here, and they're nothing like Mar-a-Lago, which I would say at least it's $500 to $1 billion in value. I mean, it is like,
well,
unlike
somebody
anything
said
else.
Sylvester Stallone's mansion, not far from Mar-a-Lago. It's less than a tenth the size of structure or land, and it's over $100 million in value,
right,
on the market.
Right.
So you've got to say at least half a billion.
Yeah, at least half $1 billion. Yeah, if not $1 billion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And now just the name and notoriety just increases it.
Yeah, sure. But by anybody that looked at the property, where it's located, the size of it, the way it's laid out, everything about it, you know that's ridiculous. They're trying to devalue the
and
property.
You know what's the crazy thing? The biggest corruption is the jury pool in New York and in DC.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have to figure out a way to get an honest jury in proceedings.
Yeah. You see, and that's what makes it so difficult to convict anybody on the left. It's almost impossible to get an innocent verdict for a conservative person, and equally as difficult to get a guilty conviction on a person on the left.
You remember all the J6 defendants? They just it was kangaroo court. Guilty.
Well, the first problem there is they weren't giving them a trial. Remember, they were in.
That's what I'm saying. The whole thing was rigged, but every time it did go to
court, right?
It was not even 3 hours of deliberation.
Yeah.
It's just so. Remember what they had to do in the South with voter rights because of a lawsuit that.
The Civil Rights Commission.
Yeah. So you could not, if you were South Carolina, you could not pass any bill having anything to do with election law unless the feds approved of it, because the assumption is you're a racist state, right? The same principle applies to bigotry towards conservatism. You need to, we need some kind of action, and we're going to
should be an automatic change of venue. It would be like taking Joe Biden and trying him in Pryor, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be you wouldn't even have to have a case. He's guilty.
And this is the kind of thing. Now, maybe we can do it statutorily by passing something while we have narrow control of both houses of the Congress, and pass it. Because what did Trump just do to the banks? He hit Bank of America and JP Morgan, penalize them because they were debanking conservatives.
Right.
Because they were conservatives.
Yeah.
The same thing happened.
And including him.
Yeah.
You remember he got debanked and had to move.
Right.
First of all, I wouldn't have my money in Bank of America. I used to, like 40 years ago, have my money back when it first started, but their rates are too high. The charges and this and that.
Yeah, I would not let them hold my money, nor would I let Progressive insure my home.
Oh, yeah, right. the Lewis family, right, who are very far left wing. Yeah, far left wing people.
So
the name fits, Progressive.
Yeah,
I mean that was the whole reason they named it that, because their politics are progressive. Yeah.
So you've got major scandals going on, and almost every prosecutor involved in lawfare is now facing criminal investigations.
Good, they should.
Yeah. So that's huge. What's going on there? The only other.
Let's bring it local, or close to local, and talk about our superintendent of education.
Yeah. So we got two people involved in scandals. One of them is I'm going to be breaking some news here today. A story I've been for the last 2.5 years.
Before we get to that. Ryan Walters.
Yes.
I want to deal with that. Let's deal with that, because we can go down the list.
So last week, we left off with a narrative you heard from some political leaders that what really went on in Ryan Walters' office was they were getting ready for a state school board executive meeting was Fox News carrying a Hulk Hogan story on the Davis death,
right,
about a scandal that Gawker put out in, releasing some home videos or some kind of thing. And that was the first I had heard. You had heard it. I talked to some other people who've been following the story. They'd not heard of that narrative. I think that's been laid to rest.
Yeah, I agree.
Because what Kyle Hilbert, Speaker of the House, did with his own investigation, Samsung, who made the smart TV in his office, said, no, we're able to we have the metadata on everything that came into that TV. Mm-hmm. And here's what we have is we've got a Jackie Chan movie, R-rated, from 1985. I think one was called The Foreigner, the other is called The Protector. One was in 90s, one was in 80s, but these were Hollywood studio release movies. And anyway, so there's that. And then you today came up with a narrative that maybe this was just an auto preview feature that Ryan Walters didn't even press play on anything.
Right. That, like, with ours, if the TV goes to a certain point, it brings we have an LG.
Yeah.
But what it does, when you get to a certain point, it gets the screen and it shows clips from shows on a particular, and it's this, there's a movie channel, I can't remember the name of it, Tubi or something, some of these off base, and they're saying you can watch these shows free movies, mm-hmm. and it'll have movies you've never heard of. It has like 2,000 or more movies that you've never heard of, obscure little grade B movies, and some better ones like a Jackie Chan. And what they will do then is show scenes of these, that to get you to try to watch this show.
I just don't think they would show explicit material in the previews. Yeah,
that's true. I don't know. Yeah, that is something. It's still not clear. Was it? Well, one thing we know for sure, if it's a Jackie Chan movie, it was not porn. Okay. We know it wasn't. There was nudity. Well, Dave, please let me finish my point. Okay. Mm-hmm. We know it's not porn. Mm-hmm. If it's Jackie Chan, and the extent to which the nudity was it topless? Was it, I guarantee you with Jackie Chan, it was not. If you go see the movies, I think I've seen one of them even, it was probably just a topless scene or some quick scene, because Jackie Chan was not known for doing love scenes. Okay, it was something at a beach or at a club. A lot of times in detective movies,
these are action movies, you'll see,
right, and they'll go into a bar, a stripper club. Yeah. It used to be popular. Dave, you're getting ready to try to jump in here again. Please calm down. They'll show. I think a Beverly Hills Cop is one, and he goes in with these cops and they're talking, and in the background you'll see some strippers, and you may see a topless scene or something. So like I said, we know two things from a Jackie Chan movie: it was not pornography, and the extent of the nudity is still in question, and whether he actually put that on or was watching a Jackie Chan movie is still in doubt. So anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Your very first sentence, we'll almost have to take it back to there and then move forward after this. In the 80s, I actually worked a little bit undercover, but helping out through the Green Country Federation for Decency to clean up some of the adult theaters. I wouldn't call them, they're nudie theaters. The old Circle Cinema used to be just straight up.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know where that is.
It's Kendall Whittier District.
I don't know.
There was another one. Yeah. Lewis and Admiral.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But anyway, George Harrelson, vice officer who met with us, and Drew Diamond, later became chief of police, met with us. He said, you can't use the term porn in the legal sense. It's not a legal definition. And porn to one person may not be porn to another. We think of the word porn meaning the people that do this stuff. And here he is, in the Miller case, the Supreme Court says it has to be designed to primarily draw the prurient interest of the viewer. In legal terms, they use obscene when fighting, this. And it's subject to community standards. So to me, anything that shows gratuitous nudity for the tantalizing interest, to me, that's porn. But that's my definition.
Yeah, because to me, that's ridiculous. Because if you go to Europe, you go to a beach in Holland where it's cold even, they're going to be topless.
But so you missed my last point. If they're trying to appeal to your prurient interest, trying to tantalize or seduce.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So if in a Beverly Hills Cop, let's take Beverly Hills Cop, and these cops are talking about a case, and somewhere in the back, they happen to be in a stripper bar, which topless stripper bars were like prevalent as well,
especially in the 70s.
Yeah, in the 80s, and even into the 90s. And so how is that porn when it was in the context of a detective movie? And if it was Jackie Chan, it was a detective type of movie. Okay. So to me, that doesn't fall under that definition unless you back in the 50s. Back in the 50s, anything topless, any nudity, you show somebody's behind and it's porn probably.
Call me old fashioned, Eddie.
Okay. Yeah, maybe you are. But no, to me, porn, in fact, to me, the definite, and maybe it's because I lived in Europe and I used to go to the beach with, in fact, I don't know if I told the story. In fact, I was just telling to somebody recently how my wife went on a church retreat, Protestant Women of the Chapel, military deal. And so we had a lake and we had a boat that we blow up boat. And so I had my older kids were in America, and the two little ones, one was like 8-month-old fat baby. And the other one was like 3.5 years old or something. And so I walk out and set up our place. And all of a sudden, here come these two German girls behind us, about probably 19 years old, 18, 19-year-old girls, well endowed. And, we're looking at the lake, and then I turn around to fix some for the kids, and I look, and these two girls are topless. And so I wanted to take one of my boys out into the lake in the boat, but the other one's asleep. So what do? I asked these girls if they could keep an eye on my baby here. I set up a little tent thing, put him under it. And so we're out in the middle of the lake, and I look back, and one of the girls has Michael in his arms, and he's...
I bet you remind him that often.
And this girl is just, she's like she's dealing with a greased pig because, but wait, so I come back. Oh, we better go inside, go in, roll back in and get back to the thing. And, and what do you do? I didn't want to grab for my son and miss it. And so finally I just held out my arms to have her. And there was so much suntan oil on this. The Germans, they lather her, and this was bad. Yeah. And I was afraid that when she gave them to me, it's shooting that way. But anyway, what I'm getting at is, see, Americans, we have turned nudity in something that Europeans.
Right. I was getting that. That's part of the Miller case. Is it's based on what's called community standards. Now, community doesn't necessarily mean municipality, but community standards is determined by jury convictions. A judge can't decide it. If somebody pleads guilty, it literally has to be a jury. So one of the cases we were dealing with here, the guy was getting, and the people evidently that owned the nude theater, porno theater, they convinced this guy to have his case heard and judged by the judge, not a jury, because they didn't want that held against them.
Right.
And so however they bought him off, they got him to go ahead and remove that
But
right.
let me ask you something. Okay. But it was considered an adult theater, right?
Oh, yeah.
That whatever the name of it was.
Yeah, I don't like the term, but yes, that's
Okay.
what.
Right. And so it dealt with pretty straight up pornography. It dealt with X-rated films.
They're clearly seeking to arouse your prurient interest. That's a legal term.
Right. Yeah, but it tells me that they weren't just showing topless women in the back.
Right. The gals at the beach your family dealt with,
Right.
they weren't trying to entice you. They weren't pole
they were
dancers
just there at the beach
or anything.
Right.
Right. So that would not meet the standard for a pornographic act.
Right. And so to me, just nudity and we're in a much deeper, I said we weren't going to chase rabbits, but we are. But to me, that because the object of the show was to show the detectives dealing with whatever, and they're talking, and then it happened to be in a topless place in New York, or I don't even know where the movies were done. So that was not to entice, although it might have been to get an R rating. You know how they did that with some movie, and purposely to get it from a PG to an R, because it would draw more people if it has. I don't know how we got that messed up, but anyway. So to me, all right, I'm gonna table that whole deal, get rid of that, and just say, but we are now in the 2020s. Okay, we're not in the 80s, we're not in the 90s. And so these women see maybe a topless scene, whatever it was, from a Jackie Chan movie, and they instantly jump to the conclusion that he has pornography on his television.
Right. It may be nudity, but not obscenity.
Exactly.
They're two different things.
I think we're agreeing.
And I'm just saying, we throw around the word porn, but it's so vague from a legal context.
To me, porn has to involve sexual acts between two people. Then it's porn. Or a person self-gratifying themselves or something.
Use the word erotic.
Yeah. That would work. But even to me, just to show somebody stripping or something, to me, that's not porn. That's nudity and it's sensuality. It's all bad. It's not good. But to me, for porn, there has to be sexual intent. In other words, gratification, either solo or with somebody else.
You're trying to entice somebody sexually.
No, see that
enticing their interest.
No, but really, no. I'm still saying no. To me, for it to be actually porn, there has to be a sexual act involved. Nudity in itself, to me, is not pornography. Because if it is, then, so you're telling me that when Captain Cook showed up in Hawaii and the Hawaiians ran around topless all the time, or Tahiti or wherever they ended up, and they show up and you got a bunch of topless.
Yeah, but there was no intent to entice him by that. The pole dancer is trying to entice you.
Yeah, but then you're going to specifically a sex club or place with that. So what I'm saying is just nudity does not rise to the level of pornography.
I agree with you on that.
And to me, in a movie to show somebody, and we're spending way too much time on this, but to me, the word that immediately tells me that it was not what these people intended was Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've seen a lot of Jackie Chan movies.
You watch way more movies than I do.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be the expert on this.
Jackie Chan was kind of half comedic and half detective.
Yeah, and it was action movie.
Action movie.
Right. So so you're going to have that.
Bruce Willis's movies are far worse than Jackie Chan.
So there's always going to be violence, and a lot of times R-rated movies come from the graphic violence.
Right.
That's not necessarily anything.
To me, sometimes the graphic violence is worse than the nudity. because what it does to the mind, it does the same thing that pornography does. It dulls your senses to. I remember going to see this movie, New Jack City, with Wesley Snipes when his first movie in Philadelphia. I'm in the ghetto, and I'm in this movie with all a Black audience, and the people are yelling the whole time and shouting and at the movie, and then all of a sudden there's this scene where this policeman is sitting in a car and this girl, it was a girl, pulls out and just shoots him in the head right there. And people just cheering and yelling. And this one lady here near looked like she was getting ready to have an orgasm because at the violence. And I'm thinking, this is seriously messed up.
That's what I'm getting out of that theater.
This is seriously messed up. And I couldn't believe what I was watching. This is like, 40 years ago, probably. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with these people? But it was a cultural thing. So like I said, to me, some of the graphic violence is worse than just plain gratuitous nudity.
I think this is just extra stuff about the legal standpoint and how we do it.
Yeah.
But getting back to Ryan.
Thank you.
Ryan, ever since that got announced, all of a sudden nobody's, this harping on, hang him. And I saw Ryan on Newsmax this morning, and they didn't talk about this. They were talking about education policy in Oklahoma.
Right. Except from what I understand, it's now developed into kind of a feud between Ryan and the governor, that Ryan is upset at the governor, come out against the governor for attacking him. Yeah. And so, because, and one of the things too, and the reason I know Ryan did this is because these are the two people that he replaced the original
Don Burdick. That's your friend and mine.
Right.
Who served for many years, did a fine job. In fact, when Governor Stitt fired those two that he appointed, he had not a single bad thing to say. Actually, it's two women who he reassigned to other state duties, but Burdick, he didn't.
Well, he offered him.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, I was with Don this morning.
Thank you. Good. I'm glad to hear that.
And he said that he was offered, he said, no, thank you.
We got to get Don in here. He's a great interview.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's got this car. It's a Lotus.
Oh, he's having too much fun on Saturdays.
I got my picture taken with it.
Did you?
No, it's awesome. Most beautiful car I've ever seen.
But see, these are people who are casualties of Governor Stitt's determination to get even for something that Ryan Walters just said. Because they disagree on a certain policy. Ryan Walters is very much a Trump mega supporter.
Oh, yeah.
And Governor Stitt was trying to get us to go with DeSantis. On the stage with DeSantis.
So you think it goes back that far?
Yeah. Right. Remember, it started out, Ryan Walters was the golden boy that Stitt appointed to his cabinet. That was the first political thing that Walters did. And then, of course, he ran. And now that he's got his job, the governor has his, they butt heads. Well, some of that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it got ugly. I've seen it with Stitt and the Senate President Pro Temp. I've seen it with the Speaker of the House and Governor Stitt.
Do you think the governor is trying to build more of a following on Democrats? In other words, looking towards the future, he doesn't want to create enemies and keep. I'll give you an example. Okay, I was asked to host his inauguration. I don't know if you remember that. That was the last time.
Yeah.
And so me being me, I get up and I start ragging on or criticizing Democrats. When as part of my MC duties, and I had Republicans cheering, but I was told afterwards that they didn't want it because it was supposed to be a healing,
uniting,
a uniting.
And that's a fair point.
Yeah, but what was the thing in Living Color? You say, homie, don't play that.
Yeah.
When these people are out here trying to shoot me and lie about me and do all of this and this and that, and I'm supposed to pretend that, oh, we're all kumbaya right now. No, I will always, I will be me today, tomorrow, forever. It's just me.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, then you don't like it. So I think I understand what the governor may have been trying to do and wanting to do. And I think in this case, he had enough enemies attacking him about even though his Cherokee membership, the fact that he's anti-casino and fighting them on that and the different, So I think maybe, again, a healing moment, with the state, get him a little better side.
Yeah.
But to me, it's at the detriment. I mean, if these two ladies and this other guy that he appointed were that offended, and it was to the extent you want to get rid of the superintendent of education, who, to me, everything I look, he's trying to do the right thing. He may be trying to do it a little too harshly, too fast or whatever. But regardless, he's doing the right thing. Then to me, Ryan's not the one who's got the problem. Let me just leave it at that.
Well, I just think the whole culture there has gotten so junior high cliquish between, the leaders of each chamber of the legislature and the governor and a lot of the agencies.
Well, Jim Bridenstine brought up something really good this morning at our breakfast meeting.
He's name dropping, folks.
Well,
Teasing you.
Well, no, I want to give credit to the person who came up with this.
Yeah.
But I never even thought about it. But in other states, these positions serve at the pleasure of the governor.
Yeah, they're cabinet picks.
They're cabinet
nominees.
picks. Secretary of Education, Commerce, different agencies within the state are picked by the governor. So you elect a Republican governor, he can put in just like in federal level, he gets to pick all these different people.
Right.
But Oklahoma, we somehow feel we have to vote for each of these different positions, and that's when you run into problems.
See, you're onto something there, Eddie. This is what Oklahoma is known to have, what's called a weak governor set up here, because we do direct elections for some of the top agencies. The one thing where we're opposite of most states, in most states, their Secretary of State is elected. Ours is an appointee. But
so we've got everything backwards.
Yes, but our Secretary of State, even that office is incredibly weak because in most states, the elections are run by Secretary of State. Remember that hanging Chad controversy?
In Florida, and in Arizona, remember we had
it's the Secretary of State that certifies those things. And in our Oklahoma Constitution, we made it so the clerk of the Senate runs the elections. The problem with that.
So what does the Secretary of State do?
A friend of mine and my former senator, Jim Williamson.
We're dropping names?
Yes, we are. Because I was talking to his son one day. We were down at Liberty on Tap. And his son's very much a Ron Paul libertarian kind of guy. And I was telling him, I said, so how's your dad like being Secretary of State? He says, oh, man. You know what he said to me? He says, I just feel like a butler. He says, when there's an official visit, it's my job to go to Madam Governor, because it was under Mary Fallon, introduce to you and say that, and he's got to do it under a certain way, like the butler would in the mansion.
And then he backs out.
But you are the keeper of the archives. That's officially really what the Secretary of State does. They are just like the county clerk, keeper of the archives. And so we just do things very backwards. Now, keep in mind, up until George Nye, who, by the way, just passed away this week.
His name came up this morning.
Yeah. He was the first Oklahoma governor. 80 years after statehood. First one to get elected to a second term. That's how badly we beat up on our governors. Badly we beat up on our governors. Now, since then, we've had a few, but here's just recently, we've just switched over to where we've had 4 governors in a row
that were reelected.
Keating, then Henry, then Fallon, and now Stitt. Things changed.
8 years.
Yeah. So they each did an 8-year run. And I still think it's a weak government. I mean, we found out how weak. Remember, we had John Eccles here a few weeks ago. And I mentioned, 1 year, the governor wasn't even part of the state budget. They overrode his veto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They let him know how weak he was.
Yeah.
And he is. He is.
Yeah.
And it's the office is weak, I should say.
Yeah. Now I have to say, though, honestly, I think the legislature should have veto power. Okay. Other areas, like all of these different secretary of this, and this, which really should be cabinet positions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think of the millions of dollars that could be saved in campaigning, because if it's at the pleasure of the governor, you elect a governor and then he's able to put these people into position. People would have to raise millions of dollars to get elected, or hundreds of thousands of dollars to get elected to that position. And then you could invest that money in whoever the governor is. If it's that important to you that he has a good cabinet and a good staff, then use the money toward the gubernatorial races. So
here's the thing.
Okay.
Cut to the chase. Ryan Walters, it looks like he's going to survive this. He may end up really shining.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, it's really turned on the other people now.
Yeah.
But I still don't really understand, back to the thing we were talking about earlier, why the governor seems so bent on certain acts, replacing the people on the board, on the state education board, replacing those people, and then his feud with, all the governor had to do. To me, I think he tends to be, listen, I supported him. I like him. I think he's at heart a good guy and wants to do the right thing. Okay. I think he's just fallen into the political trap that he's trying to play politics too much, and he's got to stop. And this is why Trump is president. That's why certain governors of other states are governor. The Democrats are not going to compromise one bit at all. They are who they are, and they're going to stay that way. Mm-hmm. Okay. Every gubernatorial governor, and the ones that end up running for president there, take our governor of California.
Yeah.
There's no doubt on where they're coming from.
Yeah.
We need to, and I would encourage our governor to do that. Be who you are, and stop trying to be the nice guy and I want to bind and combine and
see. I don't know. I try to be the nice guy. He's very contentious.
Well,
ask the
on
Cherokee
certain
tribe.
Things, right? But even there, he's toned it down. Yeah. He's backed up. He's toned down.
To quote David Walters, former disgraced governor, he declared victory, got out of Vietnam. That's what Stitt did with the tribes.
Yeah, he declared victory, got out of Vietnam.
That's literally a quote from David Walters.
That's well put. Yeah, I mean that's. We've fought to this point.
Yeah,
I win. I'm leaving. Yeah.
Yeah. Governor Stitt did accomplish some things early on. Mm-hmm. A lot of the boards that these elected officials had to get things passed by, such as this Board of Education, take on mental health. That board, governor, I think, only had one appointment. What he did was he got the Speaker of the House and the Senate pro temp, and they changed it to where they have a majority voice. It used to be The Medical Association got to put someone in there. The District Attorneys Association, the Bar Association, and the people I had to deal with, like Terry White, I had to lay off her a little bit because I said, you know what? You got put in this position, not by the governor or anybody elected, but just by a bunch of trade associations. They're really controlling it. And it was corrupt. It was messed up. It's still, the Department of Mental Health is still messed up. But at least we have people that are accountable back to voters.
Yeah.
Who are put in leadership.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. And if we made these cabinet positions where people are serving at the pleasure of the governor, then I think you would alleviate a lot of friction in the newspapers. Someone at our meeting this morning, I won't drop any names again.
I'm teasing.
Yeah, no, still. But anyway, I would say that when they were serving under President Trump, these people would have knockdown, drag out fights within themselves when they had a meeting, but you never heard about it.
Right.
Because they did it privately within themselves, and in the end, a consensus would be built, and they would make this happen.
Yeah,
and that's how it should be. But all we have now is just these public fighting, and it's infighting because they're all supposed to be conservative Republicans and so forth. And again, I say I think Governor Stitt is a good governor. Okay, if I go by the old 70-30 rule, probably 70% is good. It's just the 30% that we seem to have a problem with, and see that he's trying to play, still keep this door open a little bit to appease this group or that group, not make everyone an enemy. And the other thing is he just tends to jump out too quickly on endorsing people. Now, he was fine with Glenn Youngkin of Virginia. He was the first one to support and endorse him when he was first running, but he was also, he prided himself on being the first to support DeSantis for president.
Now, I remember you were the MC of that meeting when Youngkin and
you were there.
Town,
he was in town, and he was so proud of the fact that he was the first one to endorse DeSantis, and that turned out to not turn out as well. So
we tried to get Matt Pinnell in. He's out of town this week. We're hoping to get him in. Matt's a good friend of the show, and both of us personally. I asked Matt, a couple of years ago, I said, why? I said, first of all, Matt, were you one of those state leaders like Eccles and McCall and Stitt that was all on board for DeSantis? And Matt says, no, I've been with Trump the whole time, haven't changed. And I said, what's the thing with Governor Stitt? He says, I don't know. I said, well, he could have had a nice appointment in a second Trump administration. And I said, sucks for him. And Matt said, for him, it sucks for me. I said, why? He says, if he leaves early to take an appointment, who becomes governor? I said, then you get to run as the incumbent. Yeah. So. Yeah.
But yeah. And,
but my main point on that is he can't figure out what's Stitt's issue with Trump.
I don't think he has an issue with Trump. No.
But yet he sure ain't a fan.
Well,
I mean, I don't think.
Well, no. I think, in fact, now he, at least claims he's one of the biggest Trump supporters. But to me, it's all politically motivated. He really, at the time, it seemed like the right thing to do, because remember, Trump was in deep doo-doo early on.
Yeah, and Eccles defended that position with us real well last month. Right,
exactly. So at the time, it seemed like the right thing to do.
I can respect that.
Right.
But you and I felt like it was betrayal.
Yeah. But exactly. Well, to me, the betrayal was DeSantis, which you're talking about. And I brought that up, which it's funny how people forget that DeSantis would not have been governor without Trump, because remember, he was 6 points behind in the last couple of weeks, and then Trump came along and campaigned for him, and all of a sudden it flipped things. He ended up 4 points ahead. And the other thing that came out is that since then, he was who was the guy? He wasn't lieutenant governor. He was something else. What was his position before in Florida? The black guy opponent to DeSantis.
Oh, I forget.
Anyway, he's been found. They found him. Several scandals. Yeah, with gay people and this and that, and different other things, several scandals. So the people of Florida end up doing the right thing, but we didn't find out till later that.
Yeah, and you remember the onslaught. Obama went down there to try to negate the Trump influence, and that was a close election.
Yeah,
and DeSantis got in, and then came COVID. And we found out what DeSantis was made of.
Yeah. And
then his second election was a blowout.
Yeah.
So DeSantis proved himself.
No, he did. Right. But he was, as someone famously said, he was too eager.
Yeah. So when Jim Bridenstine was in a month ago, he pretty much said publicly what I knew privately, he would never run against James Lankford out of loyalty.
Right, exactly. And I found that out a while back. Yeah. And
so, see, Bridenstine understands that decency.
Exactly. Probably from his military background that is drilled into you. That.
And DeSantis was a military guy too.
So, yeah, well,
as a lawyer,
but as the Mel Gibson movie, We Were Soldiers Once and Young, remember in that had the one guy, they were up on a hill, him and the sergeant major watching them doing war games or doing stuff down there. And Sergeant Major, Mel asked him, "What do you think about this guy?" He said, "He looks like it was a lieutenant." He said, "Looks like a great leader, a great guy." And then Mel Gibson, "Yeah, I just think he looks eager to me. He's too eager." And sure enough, when they ended up in Vietnam, he was so eager, he ran out and got his entire platoon killed, including himself. And that's what that eagerness, whereas the other guy who was more settled down and calm, he ended up being a hero, and and they end up winning that deal. But that's how I saw DeSantis. Exactly as you said, to me, it was disloyal to take the guy who got you to the position here, and you're going to replace him 4 years later. That just is not good. Not good manners, I guess is the way to put it. So anyway, so that's what's going on.
So that's what's happening with Walters. But now it looks like we've got some scandals involving Gentner Drummond.
All right, let's hear them.
And I'm going to be breaking these to some degree. I can't say my source, but a pastor in Osage County, just not far from Tulsa, just had his house ransacked. And evidently, it was said that they were investigating his daughter. And he looked into it, and sure enough, there was a search warrant. And he decided to do due diligence. And multiple friends of yours and mine have reported this story to me privately. Ends up, when he went to the judge, this pastor, the judge said, "I never signed a warrant." Evidently, there was a fraud took place, and there's an investigation, and it may be a civil suit against the Attorney General's office. And an attorney you and I both know may very well be handling this case, because it seems that a court clerk's office has these stamps where they stamps approval from judges, but that's not supposed to.
Without a judge actually giving his permission to stamp. Oh, okay. That's not good.
And that's a Gentner Drummond thing.
But why?
According to my source.
Right. So, but what were they looking for?
I don't know.
Oh.
But they didn't find anything either. And so, is this a fishing expedition? I don't know. But there's a pastor of a church in Osage County who's not happy. And this has just happened in the last couple of weeks. I wanted the attorney to come on. He said, I'm kind of doing some negotiating here, and I'd just as soon hang on to that, keep that arrow in the quiver.
Okay.
So, but I'm saying that to say now he's got another thing. This is a case I've been following for 2.5 years now, more than that. Jeff Kriegel is an attorney, defense attorney. He was married to another attorney, a woman. They went through a divorce. They had a son. There's a custody battle. They end up splitting custody. His ex-wife marries a guy from Europe and wants to move to Belgium and tried to get sole custody of the child, lost. Not too long.
The wife lost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not too long after that, her, I guess, former employer, Steve Kunzweiler, brings forth this indictment against her ex-husband. Was this an employee retainment motive or what? But then he recuses himself. Kunzweiler did. So it went to the Attorney General's office. They initially handed over to the Wagner County, Jack Thorpe's team. I sat through a bunch of those things where it's, they're trying to hit him on rape charges.
Of his wife?
No.
Oh.
They had a Tulsa police detective running all over several states, interviewing former girlfriends and flings of this guy. Almost all of his girlfriends, single guy, divorced, right? Mm-hmm. Almost all of them are attorneys. Some of them actually were working for him. They would come to his house and get involved in sexual interludes. And they're attorneys now, mind you. Mm-hmm. They never cried rape. They never had a rape kit done. They never filed a police report. They said, well, I liked it that night, but the next morning I really wasn't in the mood.
Yeah, it's like the Trump and Bill Cosby cases where years later they decide to bring charges against them.
Yeah, although with the Cosby thing, you have the date rape drug being alleged. This is none of that.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah, alleged, yeah.
This is none of that. Right. In fact, one gal followed him down to, I think it was SMU, where he was finishing up in law school, helped him move back. He goes on a trip to Greece for vacation.
Yeah, I heard this.
And she, on her own dime, gets her own airplane ticket, meets him there. She's actually, this one wasn't an attorney. She was in college studying nursing. She ends up living with him in his parents' home, friend and family. Then this cop with the police department comes out, and all of a sudden, yeah, I think that was rape. I didn't like it.
For 2 years. I was raped repeatedly for 2 years.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. And I met with the mom and dad. They're living down here in one of his rent houses.
Right.
And trying to help him. And he had his bond revoked under the allegation that he's intimidating witnesses. I don't know how they get that. I mean, one of these women gets his protective order and then wants to meet with him. Even though she's got protective order, she texts him because they were going to Oktoberfest, but she'd already been drinking. And she said, how drunk can I be and still get laid tonight? I mean, these are women seducing him.
Yeah, right.
And so one day, middle of the court, we break for lunch. We're down there at Ron's Hamburgers. And I said to his dad, I said, this is just kinky sex. And they're trying to turn it into rape.
Right.
And these are officers of the court, most of these women, who never filed a police report, who never did a rape kit or anything. And years later, after this Tulsa cop detective is running after him, going up as far away as like Kansas City and other places. And now keep in mind, they revoked his bond 2.5 years ago, longer than that, and have had him in the Tulsa jail.
Right.
In solitary confinement.
Yeah, I know. That's what he brought. Yeah.
John Eccles was in here a few weeks. He's running for attorney general. he runs the medical, his company he founded runs a medical services. So he knows a thing or two about this. And I said, John, he's been in solitary for nearly 2.5 years. And John looks up, my God. And so, yeah, he's freaked out. And I did what John said. Don't bring this up in my podcast interview because I may have to take legal action here. And I don't want to, have this track record. Right. Mm-hmm. And so Jeff Kriegel now has been determined that he's suffering severe psychiatric damage from this long solitary confinement. And they're putting off his trial. They put it off now for like 3 years.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
He's not been found guilty of a thing.
Anything.
He put up his bond and they said, you forfeited that. Thank you very much. And
how did he forfeit it?
Because they made this allegation, and I sat there. They said, what you're doing in court is abusive to other officers of the court. He said, no, I had attorneys representing me at that. They said it was still, improper. Well, punish the attorney that did it then.
He needs, when he gets out, he needs to sue the pants off these people.
Yeah.
For every dime they have, he needs to sue them for every cent they have.
Yes. Well, what should happen right now is a civil rights lawsuit to federal court against Gentner Drummond. Now,
okay, bring him into, because you hadn't brought him in yet.
Right.
Okay.
So now remember, he was handed off to the Wagner County, the DAs over there, Jack Thorpe's team. And then Gentner's team took it back, and they're leading the prosecution themselves. And they're the lead prosecutor. I spoke to him during a break in the proceedings about a year ago. He's the same prosecutor that railroaded Daniel Holtzclaw because he worked for David Prater, this guy. And so he's been the liaison that Drummond has used to keep an eye on what's going on. And he observed everything, even while Jack Thorpe's DA's office was doing it. And so the day I talked to Eccles about this, it was at the state Republican convention. And I mentioned to Al Gerhardt because this is Al Gerhardt's personal attorney. I told Gerhardt about it. Well, guess who else was there? Gentner Drummond. Al goes and talks to Gentner that day. Gentner insists. Jeff Kriegel insisted he wanted to be in solitary confinement. The parents are saying that is crap.
Yeah.
And now you got a guy who's damaged psychiatrically. He's in Veneta, the forensic psychiatric facility for the state, because the judge says we can't do anything until he's sane enough to help with his own defense. If he doesn't get that, he may be a ward of the state for the rest of his life because of the abuses. Now, you could say, what if that is true, that he did ask, as Drummond says, that he wanted to be in solitary? It's still criminal. In this case, if you wanted to kill yourself and I was your doctor, should I assist in your suicide? That's a crime in this state. If he wants to be, and the medical staff at the jail says, we need intervention here.
Right.
This is too much. As the founder of Turnkey, in shock, said to me, he says, you don't do that. 2.5 years of solitary. Solitary confinement should be ruled out as cruel and unusual punishment if it exceeds just a week or a few weeks. There are ways to isolate and protect people from themselves or others without doing this. And Jeff Kriegel had not done anything violent or anything like that. It was, this is punishment by our court system, the judges, the bar association, the prosecutors, and I'm staying silent no longer. And I'm pretty disgusted with it. So I'm saying, Gentner, you've got to answer for this. I may be the first media guy to call this out, but there's about to be several others. And we just got to do something about this.
Yeah, I've heard the story. It's a terrible, terrible thing they did to this guy. And when we discussed, we related to the Bill Cosby thing, and to go back in the history with Bill Cosby, I went back to what actually caused Bill Cosby to come under indictment. People don't seem to, nobody this morning remembering it. Everybody, oh wow, but. Bill Cosby was a fair-haired boy. I mean, everybody loved Bill Cosby, the dad, Cosby Show, and Fat Albert, and I actually
He's
saw
a Philly boy like you.
Well, yeah, it's true. But my wife and I went to see him here at the Hard Rock. Okay, and it was a good show. It was funny. He did get in a little hot water because he told a joke about the Native Americans, the Indians, and they didn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
One woman they had to drag out of there. She was drunk and yelling at him. So, but anyway, but what the similarity is that they were bringing up, in his case, a lady accused him of doing something back in the 80s that they didn't bring up until now. And basically, but here's what it was, and this is what people didn't understand. Most people don't realize. That spring, at the national meeting of the NAACP, Bill Cosby got up and attacked his audience. I don't know why he does that, because it was at the Cherokee Casino, and he's attacking the Native Americans. Yeah. But anyway, at the NAACP convention, he was the keynote speaker, and he told this story about all the Black crime among Black youth. Yes. And he was saying, you all keep wanting to blame W. Bush and the Republicans and the this and then white people. You're blaming everybody but yourself. You are the ones who are responsible for all the crime, the poor education, the miseducation, everything evil, the over-sexualization, everything. He was getting on them about the guys wearing the sagging pants, the girls rump shaking. Right. And all it was his Booker T moment, wasn't it? Right. But, and so they after that, all of a sudden you started hearing these stories about Bill Cosby. Right. And then next thing you know, these charges are brought. It was the same year, later in the same year, I think it was like 2010 or maybe even earlier. I don't know. Time seems to compress the older you get, the longer it gets so far away. But in any event, that's when all of a sudden Bill Cosby was the scum of the earth. And here's what's funny about it. We've all heard about the Rat Pack. Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. was one of them. I'm trying to think. Vic Damone was one. I can't remember the other. But anyway, so this was known as the original Rat Pack, and they hung out in Las Vegas. And they were just a bunch of good old entertainers that were just really tight, and they kind of ran the place. Well, there was a second Rat Pack, and that one came out of the late 60s, late 60s, early 70s. And that was Bill Cosby, Robert Culp, Robert Vaughn, and there were a couple other. These were the guys when Bill Cosby was on I Spy, and he was on there with Robert Vaughn. I think it was Robert Culp, one of the Roberts, and then Robert Vaughn. Yeah, I think Robert Vaughn was the man from Uncle. Yeah, and then I can't remember who the other. There were like 4 or 5 of these guys, and they were friends with Hugh Hefner. Yeah. And so I remember seeing a documentary on Hugh Hefner and the whole thing with the Playboy clubs and everything. And then they would have clips of these guys, I think it was Robert Culp, who was talking about the grotto at the Playboy Club. Yep. And how the women were just plentiful. There were all these women and people were having sex in the grotto, and he was just laughing about it, having, and how he and Bill and so on, so they were all at the Playboy Club doing these different things. It never came out later, but I will bet you anything that Bill Cosby didn't do anything that these other guys were doing. In fact, he might have learned it from some of these other guys, and they may have learned it from the earlier Rat Pack or whatever, whoever. But the whole reason, again, that Bill Cosby got attacked is because he started calling out Black people and who are all Democrats, and it was making them look bad. So they turned on him, and all of a sudden, we've got to hang Bill Cosby. We've got to get rid of him, and that's what they did. And
and now, who really should have got punished in that was the presiding judge
in the Cosby case.
Yeah,
well, he should have,
because it was clear that was beyond statute of limitations.
Yeah, and they did eventually throw it all out.
Yeah, the appeals court. So as of now, legally, Bill Cosby is an innocent man.
Yeah,
from the standpoint of the law. Now, I think he would admit there's some things he's not proud of.
Right.
But I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
A very similar thing, very similar to what you just said, came up in the news this week. Author Jerry Oppenheimer did a biography on John Kennedy Jr. And John Kennedy Jr. was terrified when his cousin.
Oh, they had the rape in Florida.
Yes. Willie Smith, under what Rush Limbaugh would always joke about, Ted Kennedy called it a traditional Easter weekend. So anytime they're doing a big sex romp orgy, just call it a traditional Easter weekend. A Kennedy traditional Easter weekend. And but he was disgusted by Willie's behavior. And evidently he and his cousin, I mean, they grew up together, right? Mm-hmm. He's not at all proud. And keep in mind, John Kennedy Jr., at that point, he had passed the bar, now is an officer of the court for the state of New York. And he's not going to condone this, but the whole Kennedy pack threatened him, according to this author, that they were going to put out rumors that he's gay.
That John was.
John's gay. If he doesn't support Willie's innocence in this. So this is the whole cabal thing.
You know, another thing about John that a lot of people don't either know or remember, one of his best friends, you know who his best friends was?
Well, there was a Lem Schilling.
Well, no,
he did have a
yeah, the one that everybody here would know is Donald J. Trump.
Oh, yes.
They were very, very close friends. And
yes.
And John, he was he was very un-Kennedy-like as far as the rest of the Klan.
Yeah.
Because he lived in New York, in Manhattan, and he would ride a bike into work every day. He would ride a bike. And the people, he would be seen by people on the streets. He was very accessible. He never lived like Caroline, trying to be a queen or something, you know, living secluded and sequestered, you know, with, and it's funny today though, when you think about it, how Caroline's son is so vehemently outspoken against Donald Trump.
Well, I want to get into this because there's a similarity in how John feared this kind of his own family destroying him.
Right.
Bobby Kennedy Jr.
Got
the same treatment. I mean, they just hate him now.
Right.
Whatever happened to just being a family?
Right. Well, it just shows that politics. I'll tell you what I think the big fear is of so many your wealthy liberals. Okay. And I've always said this, Black people haven't woken up to this, but it's that they feel threatened if the common man is able to invade their territory, the class structure. Okay. And so what I've said, so the easiest way for me to keep the other class, whether Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, the best way for me to keep others from competing with my children is to convince them that they can't compete, but that it's okay. I will take care of you.
Well, and to blame it on the white middle class is the reason you can't compete.
Right, exactly. You convince them that you can't compete.
And it's their fault.
But you don't, but the big thing is the second part of it. You don't need to compete. We have welfare for you. we have housing,
Mhm.
and what I call white man's welfare. And I'm
Mhm.
sorry if I step on any toes.
Mhm.
It's called disability.
Mhm.
I can't tell you how many people I've come into contact with in their 20s,
Mhm.
30s that claim disability and they don't work anymore because they're getting their disability check.
Mhm.
And you get Medicare. You can get Medicare at an early age. In your 20s, you can get it, and you can get you get these payments. So you have free health care. You have no other. What do you call them? I'm trying to think, man. I've got so many things running through, fire hose running through a garden hose in my mind. But there's so many benefits to claiming disability.
Right.
On the white end, on the black end, it's welfare. And now with immigrants, it's the same thing. That's why they come here, they can claim all of these different things.
Yeah.
But what this really does is it protects the elite class from the lower and middle class.
Yeah.
And even the tax system. See, to me, and did we argue about this in the past?
What's that?
The limit on Social Security tax. That, in other words,
Right.
you're only taxed on the first 125 or 130.
We debated it last week, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking it was fresh in my mind that if you make over 135, I think it's up to somewhere in there.
It's only a tax on your first 125 grand.
Or 25 grand. It keeps going up though. It somehow it's
right. Yeah. Scheduled for inflation.
Right. Because I remember when it was just 100 grand.
Right.
Even, but it's up to 125. So if you make over $125,000, they only tax the first 125,000 as far as self-employment tax or Social Security. So if you make $125,000, 10% of that, okay, $12,500 a year, you have to pay tax on.
15.
What?
15% FICA.
Oh, I forgot it's 15. Yeah, I'm doing 10%.
Well,
so I'm even
7 and 7 if you're an employee. Your employer pays that.
Right.
But guys like me and you, we pay both sides.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm doing like, yeah. Oh, okay. So anyway, 15%. So basically you're paying about $17,000 in tax. Okay. So it ends up being 15%, as Dave says. If I'm a millionaire, if I make 1.25 million no, just $1 million, if I make $1 million, then I'm still paying that same amount of tax. So now it's only 1% instead of 10%.
Right. But in dollar amount, it's only your first 125,000 of annual income.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to make a different point.
Yeah. That
for the person that makes up, say, 125,000, they're paying 15%. If you make $1 million, it's 1.5%. Right. If you make $100 million, it's 0.15% of your income.
Right.
Okay. To me, that's crazy. And then they cry about Social Security. Now, Dave has a different position on this.
I do.
Because, but to me, if you're going to do it at all, don't have a limit.
Yeah. But see, that truly does make it a welfare kind of program. And here, let me say this. When you file Social Security, if you've been making millions every year,
right?
Guess what? Your pension is only based on you making 125 grand a year. It maxes out.
But you don't know. Usually, if you're making $1 million a year, you don't care about your pension.
That's a separate argument.
Well,
but it's
an argument.
Remember, they tried to structure this almost like an insurance policy. Okay. They didn't want to make it a social program, even though it's called Social Security.
And it is a social program.
Yeah.
Because
I know
it's more than just the Social Security payments. There's a lot else in there. Medicare's in there and all these other things. And we keep talking about it going bankrupt. But the reason it's going bankrupt is because the people making 125 under are paying the 15%.
Let me ask you something on this. Remember about 30 years ago, they split off your medical part of your federal taxes. The Medicare portion in FICA got separated from the other. And I'm trying to remember what the reasoning was on that, but I'm wondering if that medical part still caps at your 125,000.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure it does.
It probably
it
does.
It still is in there. And usually if you've got that much money, you're not worried about medical.
Yeah, I get that. But see, when I first became a licensed minister, I was taught at Rhema. We had a class called the Minister's Income Tax Policy, where you financial planning. And they told us, as a minister, you can opt out of Social Security on your ministerial income.
Yeah, in Galveston, Texas, you can do it.
They had a special municipal carve out.
Right.
Because they were kind of a target, a pilot program.
Right. When my dad worked for the VA, he also had a choice of what he wanted to do.
As a federal employee, they had some. Yeah.
If we keep going, we'll have all these people.
People could do it.
But here's my deal. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, if you truly are worried about helping keep this thing alive and vibrant, et cetera, because let's say, okay, I'm a millionaire today, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow necessarily. Yeah. Okay. So I am preparing for the future. And if you're going to have the social program, Social Security, then make it fair and equal to everyone.
Okay.
And when you say that I've got to pay 15%, and yet this other person that ends up being 1.5% or 0.15 or 0.1, 0.015, then all of a sudden it creates this inequality. Okay?
I got you. Now, keep in mind, let's look historically, because this is important.
This is good discussion, really, because everybody needs to be aware of
in understanding how this developed. Social Security was part of the New Deal, FDR, right?
Right.
Okay, so it was early to mid 30s we instituted it.
I thought it was the 40s. I thought it came after World War II. Or probably during.
Pretty sure it was 30.
Yeah, okay, could be. I don't know.
Some point in the 30s is my thinking. But income tax started 20 years earlier in the mid teens, right? And when they started it, it was only a tax on millionaires. The common middle class working guy, the tax structure excluded them. And so I don't know at what point, I think it was World War II, where we all of a sudden started hitting everybody for something. And the highest rate during World War II was 90% income tax, right? So what I'm thinking here, Eddie, is in the early 30s, the average Joe didn't worry about his federal income tax. I don't think it was much.
Right.
So the concept of having a Social Security, pension program, planning for retirement, and an insurance component that if you get injured, you got that. I think it was probably a bigger hit at that point, a harder sell than federal income tax, which I don't think really was hitting the average guy, the state income tax. So here's why I'm saying this. I think they had an easier time selling and say, look, it's just your first threshold of income that we're going to apply this pension program to. Not all your income, just this. So I think when you think in those terms, that people probably weren't paying federal income tax, the average Joe, middle class. That's why I think it got sold that way.
When was Roosevelt first elected?
32.
Okay.
Took office. We're talking Franklin, not Theodore, but Franklin. Right. Yeah. And 33, he took his oath of office.
Okay. So 35 is when it started.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
Because you would have had to pass it by that first Congress. And he swept. I mean, the Democrats swept everything. So that's what I'm thinking. You just, if you look at the mindset, it makes sense in that era. To you, it doesn't make sense today. And I think you got a solid point given where we're at.
Right. And see, here's the problem with it. Well, there's many problems with it, but one of them is, and this is what the Democrats are really good at doing, and this comes swishy Republicans, okay, that they'll take a program which is good in itself, but then they'll start throwing other stuff into it. So Social Security does not only, for example, protect you for your as a retirement program. Medicare comes out of that. Certain welfare benefits come out of it. All these different things that keep getting thrown in to the program, which lead to its insolvency. And people don't. The average person who's receiving the benefits doesn't say, "Oh no, that's too much. That's too much." You know, the normal reaction is more. And so, but that's that's what bothers me, is that we're trying to throw more and more people into a program that less and less people are having to pay into.
My biggest argument that we haven't totally caved in on that comes from, I sought you out this last winter for some tax advice for somebody I know who has been disabled. And by not working for more than 10 years is no longer eligible for any Social Security benefits, even though that person paid in 30 years earlier. You know, once you don't work for that long, you don't get that disability part.
Unless you're married to somebody who did.
No.
In other words, yeah. So in other words, a housewife.
It did not for disability.
Oh, you're talking about disability. Okay,
so,
I'm sorry.
No,
yeah, I'm talking about just Social Security.
Now, see, there's a couple of things. There's a Medicaid program called SSID.
Right.
Social Security, our Supplemental Security Income Deal, which is a welfare program, straight up welfare program.
Yeah,
it's not based on anything you paid in.
Right.
And it's separate from Social Security.
Right.
So I mentioned to you, I said, now, shouldn't this person maybe do some kind of deal that you can do now in taxes where, like, say, the farmer used to, fill out his income taxes and his wife was not listed as making that money. She never got Social Security credits.
You mean if he didn't file jointly?
The Schedule C, the actual business income.
All right.
Not the household income, the business income. If you'd have to fill out 2 Schedule C's, the husband and wife, for instance. That's the only, and that's actually a change that happened in the last 20 years to allow for that.
Yeah, but see, so for example, when my business S corp, okay, so we don't file separate Schedule C's or anything. We do one thing. My wife has never worked since, well, she did when we first got to Tulsa. But anyway, but she is counted in mine because we filed jointly under the one.
I'm sure you're
under my S corp.
Somehow Social Security gets withheld from her and credited to her in order for her to, here's where I'm getting at, Eddie, is accruing Social Security credits.
Right.
Because what they do is they take your top 35 years.
Well, no. Here's how they do it. The wife gets half of whatever.
That's a separate thing. That's truly
on Social Security.
Yes, that's the spousal benefit thing, which is separate.
Right, but I just want to be clear to everybody so they understand.
Yeah, but I'm still trying to build my case here.
Sorry.
So here's the thing. I said, this person I'm talking to could on paper show income and pay in with it credited and maybe get 10 years. And you said, that's still not going to be a pittance. That might get you a check of $100 a month. Well, SSI does way better than $100 a month.
Sure it does, yeah.
So you literally get your government benefit based on what you earned. Not how hard off you get. It's not Marxist to each according to his need.
Well, or you could say you get your government benefit on how much you don't work. If we're talking the SSI.
Well, with the welfare program,
right?
Which So what I'm saying is, the Social Security, truly, you get what you deserve based on what you put in, except for that insurance.
Why? Because of what you paid in.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, and so in that sense, it's not like the welfare programs.
No.
Which is like, we don't care what you deserve. It's what you need that you get.
Right. But again, what I'm saying is that, it's what you put in. And I'm thinking that people with more money should put more in. See, here's the problem. I've talked about our tax code. A part of it works against people moving from one status to the next status. Okay. Because if you're earning 100,000 and you think, oh, I'm doing great, okay. Because I was okay. So you're up here now and you're paying 15% of your salary. Okay. And then you get up a little bit and it may be 12%, 8 or, so you keep moving up the ladder and paying a little less, but they're still taking that chunk out of what you could be doing yourself to invest or save. Okay. Whereas this person over here who may get you're not going to pay FICA anyway, because it's not earned income. It's just, you pay a different tax. Okay. What do they call it? I meant too much stuff going through here again. Capital gains. Okay. You may get capital gains or this or inheritance or whatever. But once you hit that level, once you're up here, and your what was it, Kobayashi's thing? So you get to a point where your money's making money. At first you work to make money, and then you want to work to the point where your money's making money. Yeah. And so but that's the problem we have, because that's the real crux of it all right there. Are you making the money, or is your money making money? And so the people whose money is making money are not paying what the people who are working to make the money. Yeah. Okay. Here's my response to what you said here about 2 minutes ago. Okay. If you want the guy who made $1 million this year to pay 15% of that million, then it would make sense that he would also get pensions based on paying in $1 million. So his Social Security check's going to be whopping massive. Yeah. Okay. It should be fair, right? It should be equal. But here's the thing. We've said, not just since, 1935, where the government set up this mandatory pension savings thing. We've said for centuries, Mankazawa says, save for your old age, right? Put money away for a rainy day. We've always said that. This was just the first time our government said, we're going to make you do it. And a lot of people says, no, I'm already putting away and I'm getting way better returns than you can give me. And they said, well, we're going to make everybody do something, because on their own, some will, some won't. So that's part of the argument, Eddie, of why we only do the first 125,000 is beyond that, we still encourage you to invest, but it makes sense to let you invest someplace where you're going to take some risk, but you're going to get some reward. But there's the problem. We are not incentivizing the people on the low end to invest themselves. We may talk about it a little bit, but you got a whole class of people, several classes actually, that are earning money that are not being incentivized to save or invest on their own, where they could make out much better. We're forcing them into a low production, low return, low yield, government run thing. And I guarantee you, if you start taxing people over $1 million, 15% self-employment tax or whatever, then I guarantee they would start supporting that type of idea. That what our whole goal is to wean you off of the government dole. And the second part to that is, again, we've got to cut out so many of these social programs. Like I said, disability, white man's welfare is Black and Hispanic welfare. And it just drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. I would have people coming in here all the time talking about, to get Social Security, to get insurance. And they would tell me, oh yeah, I start collecting my disability. And these are totally able-bodied individuals. Wait, hold your thought. But it disincentivizes people to work. And we're always talking about getting people to work. And you can create all kinds, Trump's big thing is how he's creating all these jobs in America, bringing these jobs back on shore. Mm. Well, it's great to bring jobs back on shore, but are you going to fill them? I remember being up in North Tulsa at this social service. It's a church, but they have this branch up there. Mm-hmm. I won't name it right now. But anyway, they work with people on the education and trying to get jobs. Well, when, was it Whirlpool or one of the, I don't think it was Whirlpool. It was another company. I think it was,
Nordam?
No, Amazon, I guess. Okay. When Amazon was, that's right. It was Amazon when they were building their plant here or their distribution center here. And they had headhunters come in and they wanted to hire people from North Tulsa to give more employment up there. And he told me they had 150 people at their place come in and fill out applications and an interview. And then he saw the lady who was running the human resources person about a month or so later. And he asked, oh, how'd that go? How many of our people did you hire working up there now? And she said 0. They could not hire any of them because none of them could pass the
exam.
Well, it wasn't even an exam, the interview. None of them could pass the interview, which means these people were incapable of working at an Amazon warehouse. Yep. That shows you how bad it is. It was either drugs, a big part of it was the drugs. Yeah. That the drugs knocked them out.
Police record.
And there's another one. So, and a lot of people, I know when I used to mentor this little boy, I may have told this story before, and his mother was living, there were 4 different husbands, 4 different fathers for each of these 4 kids. And somehow through whatever I was able, there was a lady who basically stole the one kid legally, stole it because she got the mother to sign him over to her, to Jinx. And when the mother found out that he was taken off of her welfare check, she was ticked off. She became so angry. So what did she do? She got pregnant again, had another one to replace the other one. Yep. I mean, this is the kind of mentality. That's why I'm so adamantly against all of this, but it goes both ways. Yeah. It goes both ways. Okay. I call disability white man's welfare. You have regular welfare. Yeah. And then I just think we should raise the bar, and it could create a greater solvency for the whole program. Yeah. And so anyway, that's
something you said 10 minutes ago.
I can't hold him down anymore. He's got to get loose.
Something you said 10 minutes ago.
What did I say 10 minutes ago?
Well, you called it FICA tax.
Yeah.
It's actually, FICA is called the Federal Insurance Contributions Act. They're called contributions. Right. They're not called taxes.
Yeah. Or confiscations.
But they call it contributions, just like contributions to your 401k. Right. But see, that's the thing. You and I, and almost every working man out there, sees it as a tax.
Yeah.
But they didn't sell it to us.
Well, it is. Well, yeah, exactly. Because it is a tax. I mean, really, it is. Because I am not voluntarily contributing.
It's a distinction without a difference, right?
There's a big difference on contribution and confiscation.
Right. But when you see it as a contribution, you're making everybody put away some.
Right.
And you're saying, you know what? That guy who's making $1 million, we're only have a legitimate concern about his threshold amount. And so we're not going to make him put all $1 million that he has to invest into our poor performing, low yield.
I'm not asking $1 million, but I want him to give 15% like I'm giving and you're giving.
I'm talking about, that 50. And here's another thing of the 15%. So you and I actually, as self-employed people, 15.3%. On 120.
Well, trust me, I pay a ton.
Okay,
more than I could ever imagine that I would have
bragging,
to pay.
Folks.
No, I'm not. No, I'm complaining is what I'm doing.
You're putting a lot more than I am. Okay.
I'm just complaining because that's one reason I'm ticked off.
But you got a break here. I'm about to tell you about.
Okay.
For you, self-employed, just like me, they cut it off at 125,000. The employee.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yes.
Only have to pay 125.
The employee.
That's so white of them.
For the employee, it's $175,000. Or no, wait a minute. $176,000 before
that the employer has
before
to
they
contribute
stop collecting that 15% between him and his employer. So he's paying
so it's up to 175 now.
176.
176. Wow.
For when you punch a time clock or a salaried
which
employee.
Is true Social Security, because the other one is self-employment tax. They changed the name,
right. So here's the thing, Eddie. If you would have incorporated to the point where you become an employee
of yourself
of the Eddie Huff Insurance Corporation,
right,
you would be paying more.
Right.
Another 50,000 would be subject to FICA. So I'm just saying.
No, I know it's ridiculous.
Not to mention you'll get double tax. First, your corporation will pay a tax, then you get your dividend and you'll pay tax.
Here's the way I look at it. Okay, if you raise the threshold to $1 million, 10 million, I would say 10 million. Okay, $10 million a year of earned income, you pay the same amount. Okay, but if you did that, you could lower the amount that everyone, in other words, instead of 15%, you can lower it to say 7.5% or 8% collectively. I mean, total as a total. Okay. And you wouldn't have to charge 15 up to 125 or 175,000 a year.
Now you're socializing it.
Yeah. Well, maybe I am, but I mean, here's the deal. If we're already socializing, because basically what you're advocating is selective socialism. You're saying only do it to people that are making so much. After that, they're free. Okay, after 125 or after 175 as an employee, then you don't have to. It's still socialized. The difference is it's like the prostitute,
right?
That if I offer a girl, I said, "Will you have sex with me for $5 million?" Well, sure. How about $50? What do you think I am? I say, you're a prostitute. We're just haggling over the price now.
But see, Eddie, you and I are right at that threshold. We're baby boomers, where we grew up under the days of Great Society, welfare programs. You go back 20 years before that, there was no federal government social programs to speak of. Mm-hmm. Now, the state had things, and the county had a poor farm and an orphanage and stuff like that. The federal government wasn't doing any of that stuff. This was that first broad applied thing for the disabled and the elderly.
But see, again, another aspect of it is I have clients and people I know, friends that are living on Social Security, and it's not enough. So we're taxing people at a certain rate that keeps them at a certain level. Whereas the people that are up here are not being taxed. I mean, I know it sounds like the rich against the poor. No. I want people to be able to make all the money they can. But what I'm saying, if you're going to make a rule on a certain level, it needs to be for everybody. If not, then for no one. And honestly, I'm actually I'm going to get harsher now. I'm going to go the other way now.
Okay.
I don't think we should have Social Security at all. If you want to be taken care of later. If you want to have money at the end of the tunnel of your working years, you get your own savings and investment program.
Yeah.
No Social Security at all. Then we've equalized it and made it fair for everyone again, unless the only thing you can have, and even there you can privatize it, is disability insurance. But if you are working, it's on you, baby. It's on you.
Well,
if you want to be taken care of later, and I guarantee you, as soon as somebody realizes that at a certain age, there's not going to be any money there, then they will start putting money aside.
Eddie, you and I are both retired, okay? Or at least we're collecting Social Security, but we're still working.
Right.
It's a supplement.
There's the other thing, okay? I've been now... 8 years? Yeah, I guess 8 years. 8 years that I've been supposedly receiving Social Security. I'm still, so they pay me a certain amount at 65. Here's your amount. Okay. Okay. I'm 8 years beyond that now. They're still paying me basically the same thing, even though I am putting in thousands of dollars every year into the program, but they're not paying me anymore. They cut me off back there.
But they're still collecting FICA off you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah, they're still collecting, but it's not, my income is not going up. It's whatever it was when I hit.
That's truly nothing more than a tax.
Right.
Because they promised you based on you get out what you put in.
What you put in.
You are not going to get out. And I'm in the same place.
Right. No matter how much, no matter how much more we make, they're not giving us any more money.
But when it was first sold to us, it was sold to us as a supplement, not something we could live off of.
Right.
It never promised to be that.
So if I never had, you never had, anybody ever had the promise of Social Security, we would be doing everything we could to put some money aside to that when we get there it is waiting for us, like the people on the private programs do in Galveston, Texas.
Right.
The people that work for any federal office, basically, you get an option. Yeah. You get an option. You can take this program, and their option is always better than the Social Security option.
Yeah. I'm going to use an analogy from stock market and trades. There are certain things you can tap into, deals to buy stock. What is that? If you've proven that you have a certain amount of means.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. It's called a, oh, my God. It keeps shooting through my head.
Yeah. You're certified to have.
Right. Yeah. There's another word for it.
In other words, your money's good. Yeah. Right. So.
Which is ridiculous.
Okay.
Because you could, if I make $50,000 a year, my money is as good as the guy that's making $1 million a year, but they're not going to let me invest. So go ahead.
Okay, here's my point.
I'm sorry, I'm doing to you what I don't like you doing to me. So
I'm glad he figured that out. Okay, so here's the thing: those guys in the stock market get offers and deals that the rest of us won't get. We get the leftovers, right? Now, I'm going back to your point because I think this is going to illustrate on Social Security about the wealthy, those in power, convincing the little guy, you can't compete, right?
There we go.
Okay, now here's where it is. We're going to hit everybody with 15.3% tax on their first amount of income. We're sucking it out. And they're going to live hand to mouth. And those of us who are wealthy enough, we get to, sure, we'll have to do it, but we're going to have so much left over, we can invest in the real game and make so much more money than Social Security is going to give you. And our kids perpetually are going to get the advantage because we get to fly above the clouds and you're getting rained on.
Here, I worked it out one time. You take a 25-year-old person starting their career. Most of them will start at 18 or up to 21, 22.
But before you go into that,
okay,
does that not illustrate your point?
Yes.
About that you can't compete, but don't worry, we'll take care of you.
It goes back to that again. Yeah. And so, but I figured out, say you're 20, I use 25.
Yes.
You can buy a term life policy for $1 million for probably about $75 to $100
a month.
a month.
Yeah.
Okay. $1 million policy.
Mhm.
Okay. And then and then you take what's left over. Let's say I figured out $250 a month.
Mhm.
Okay. And because you're going to probably make nowadays, well, you're going to make more than $1,000 a month, because that's $12,000 a year. You're under the poverty level. So let's say you're making $300. Let's say you're making $2,500 a month to start,
Mhm.
which is still low. But let's say you're just making that. But you took $100 from your $250, 10% out of your money. Okay, and you take that and you buy this $1 million life policy
Term.
term,
Yeah.
right? And then you take the other 150 and you invest it. You can put it into an annuity.
Yeah.
You don't even have to invest in the stock market, although, you're probably going to make more putting in the stock
Right.
market. But if you're worried about it being secure and everything, get an annuity. Every 7 years, you roll it over into a new
Mhm.
one. By the time you're 65, when your life policy is probably expired,
Mhm.
because you can get a 40-year term. You can buy a 40-year term policy, carry all over him 25 to 65. And you've been investing that $150 a month
Mhm.
into whatever, you will have over $1 million.
And you won't need the life insurance policy.
You don't need the life insurance policy.
You're self-insured.
You're self-insured. And if you live decently or whatever, then the making money
Mhm. It
is
just
there
keeps
for you.
going.
It just keeps going. And actually, theoretically, as you move up, and when you're 30, by 35, you're not making $2,500 a month. You're making double. So you put more into your savings and investment, and things keep going. But anyway, it just I
See, and that was the whole shtick that A.L. Williams Insurance Company pitched. Now, the problem with that is their argument was good, but their product wasn't.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Their rates for life insurance were inflated.
Yeah.
You could get much cheaper life insurance at other places, but the theory was a good theory.
Yeah, they pitched a good theory, and I bought into that theory. I went out and got term because, when you're just really struggling and, you got disabled family members and everything, and you're, life it smacked you upside the head, and you got to move on, at least have a term policy.
Yeah. What I tell people, get a term policy, and then when you get to the retirement age and you don't need a term anymore, then at some point along the road, like about 40, get yourself a whole life policy, right. a burial policy to cover those burial expenses.
Yeah. But
because you can get one there for $30.
You say, wait a minute, this month I got to pay $10 to my life insurance, or let's say $30-$40, and I got to pay into this investment program, and I can't do both. You don't do the investment. You do not cancel that term.
Right. You keep that to protect your
when you're young and haven't built equity, is what I'm saying.
Right. But even if you can't put the 150, put something into an investment.
Yeah.
Because it's funny that once you get started, it just, there's something gets in you. You get excited and you want to keep it, seeing it grow. In fact, I have these friends, and the wife, she actually died of cancer about 5 years ago, but I started them when they were young, and we were in Germany, and I got them into this Fidelity Destiny program, and they stuck with it. And then, so this was like 20 years later, we were here, and both of us back here, and we were all missionaries together. And so I called them one day and said, "Great, how are you guys doing?" "Oh, we're doing great. That Fidelity Destiny plan you got us into, it worked out great." I think at that time they were putting $25 a month into it, but it'd grown up to like $20,000. And then what it did for her, she started looking into it and doing her own investment after that. And he was still a missionary. They took trips into Turkey, Islamic countries. Yeah. And so she died. She passed away from cancer. And I talked to the husband, and he said, I said, "How are you doing?" He said, what you got Karen started on, we're sitting pretty, we have no worries, So she actually took, and they wouldn't get Social Security because they lived overseas so many years. They didn't have to pay enough into Social Security, but they had made so much on the money they invested with the term policy, like you said, that they had no worries.
Yeah, and as a minister, you have an opt-out for ministry income. You can choose not to. You don't get the credits for it. And I found out why. And this was back when I was in Bible college. They said, when they were trying to sell this in the 1930s, the biggest fear they had was the preacher saying, this is the mark of the beast.
Yeah.
And once you said, preachers, doesn't involve you, all of a sudden they quit preaching against it because it didn't affect them.
Then they want to get into it. Then they want to take part.
It's kind of like Catholic Charities they were big for Obamacare until they found out now they're going to have to pay for all the nuns. All of a sudden they weren't for Obamacare. Then they fought it to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Hey, I think we need to move on. We have drugged this out for an hour.
And
probably
we have a local scandal, biggest scandal.
Okay, here we go.
All right. So 2 years ago, last month, we had a guest in. And we just really were impressed what he did to help us through a really bad crisis in Tulsa. We had straight winds, 100-mile long front that wiped out the power grid for northeast Oklahoma. And our emergency management director was Joe Krylichek. And he really impressed me. I think he impressed you. So much so, Governor Stitt tried to hire him away from Tulsa County.
Now, remember, we've got to talk about allegations because we don't want to get ourselves into trouble.
Right.
Okay.
So this week, on Thursday morning, I get a call from Chance Tinker, my homeless buddy, said, find out what's going on. They just busted this guy for, I guess, they claim was transmitting obscene materials through a social app with a minor. And sure enough, I went on Facebook for the county sheriff's department, and they're down there in the Glenpool neighborhood putting handcuffs on Joe Krylichek. And then at 10:30, they had a press conference, and along with, what's his name, Vic Regalado, our sheriff. And he laid out a pretty serious allegation. This was an investigation of the sheriff's department, and they were notified by this social app, Kick, that, hey, it looks like child pornography is being transferred. And then they find out it's actually at county office buildings, Wi-Fi.
Oh, man.
So
that's stupid.
So then they said, right now there is one charge that's been filed. Then they had Steve Kunzweiler, the DA, come to the microphone, and he said, I want to advise everybody here that under our judicial system, a person is considered innocent until proven guilty. And Kunzweiler went on to say a number of things. I'm like, he sounded like a defense attorney. So I'm texting our friend Kevin Adams, who is a good defense attorney. I said, since when did Kunzweiler start doing the defense attorney's job? Because remember when Kevin Adams was named public defender for David Ware shooting two cops, Kunzweiler wasn't talking like that.
Right.
Like, we got to protect David Ware's constitutional rights. But now when it's a county employee, he's talking completely different. Remember, Kevin Adams had to say, those guys were lying in the press conference. And he had to go to the courts to get the prosecution team and the cops and all them to say, you got to go on the record and correct your lies. See, this is a big difference here. So Kunzweiler's, I'm watching him because your job is to present the case against him, not to throw shade on your own case. Now, I'm driving in to the studio this morning, and KRMG comes on, and it's their lead story, bottom of the hour. And they got a whole bunch more stuff. Evidently, with all the search warrants now they found out it's happening at work on the works Wi-Fi, the works devices. They have uncovered video, secret video of a sexual incident in his home. And they said the woman was not
His wife.
aware.
Oh, she wasn't aware. Oh, that she's being filmed.
Yeah, and had not consented. And I think that's all for because I'm not sure I totally remember whether they said it was some other woman. I don't know.
He's married, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
His kids. Remember, this guy's an Eagle Scout, been, community leader. He's just been fantastic guy. But evidently, he's coming clean on this because KRMG said he talked about his failures, and he said, especially when I would be traveling in my line of work, that accountability wasn't there. Mm-hmm. When we have good weather, when we don't have any storms to chase and everything's running good, you kind of twiddle your thumbs in a job like that. But then, the storm comes in on, 1 a.m, Father's Day, Sunday, you're down there. It's feast or famine. This is not a cushy 40-hour week office job. But at this point, I think he's probably going to get a plea deal. He wouldn't be talking, right, in my opinion, if he wasn't really trying to work out a plea deal.
See, what I don't understand, because I remember probably, say this a couple of years ago, several years ago, not that many, but maybe 2-3 years ago, hearing a report how government workers in Washington, D.C., they find they're spending over 100 hours a week on porn sites. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, how can that be? Because you only work 40 hours a week. How are they spending, 100 hours a week, I guess they're still using their work emails or whatever, or web sites or logins or whatever. But I'm thinking, and it's just running through the whole deal. Now, I think, as I understand, Oklahoma, the legislature has now passed a law where they're restricting minors from it. So in other words, you can't even get on a porn site unless you're 18 years old, and they're making people enter their I don't know what you would use or what they're asking for, but there's some kind of way they're making people prove, because I think in the past they may ask or something, but they don't make you prove it. Now the state of Oklahoma has actually gotten to the point. So there's
about a dozen states that have followed suit. Oklahoma did this like a year ago. No, well, last year we're one of the first, but about a dozen states that are all similar politically minded states. Mm-hmm. In other words, California isn't one of them. And and so depending, if your IP address, shows it's Oklahoma IP, then they're going to ask you. Problem is, it's so easy to get around it. You ever hear about something called a VPN, virtual private network?
Right.
They are growing so much in popularity.
So what's the difference? So why would it be different on a VPN? And what's the other one? A PPN, a public,
virtual private network. What it is it routes your traffic through some other destination and then to the website. And you could choose any nation in the world. There's all kinds of free ones out there. And if you want to hide your IP address for whatever reason, I mean, my son and we started this Christian message board that we were able to see as admins where that post on the message board, what IP address it came from. So we knew if they said they're from California, no, that's Dallas, Texas. Don't tell me.
Yeah, it's like the phone number, the area codes now. You can pick an area code anywhere in the country if you want. Yeah.
Right. But used to be that area code help you to track, that's just where it's coming from. And so, they have ways around it and stuff. So that's what's going on now. Is they've always figured out ways around everything.
So it's the honest people that are getting trapped in this, and the other or blocked out or whatever. But there's still people that are able to find their way around it.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. Get back to Krylacek. KRMG's been covered it this morning. The latest update. I don't know. I mean, when you are sending videos, and they said the videos they've uncovered showed forcible sexual with children.
The videos.
Yes. There are multiple videos now in evidence. Sure. Kunzweiler said one of his last comments from the microphone Thursday morning. He says, right now we have one charge, one count. That's not the case anymore.
Yeah. See, I still don't, it's like, what do you call it? Homosexuality. Mm-hmm. It's something I'm not, alcoholism, I don't understand it. Mm-hmm. I don't understand what causes somebody to not be able to not drink. Mm-hmm. I don't understand what would cause somebody to not like women. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's whatever. And so I don't understand how somebody would or could want to forcibly have sex with a child.
Yeah. Sure.
It's
especially prepubescent, because that's where the worst punishments come from.
Yeah.
Because you literally can give them a mental illness for life. If they're prepubescent, their brain isn't wired to understand that, okay, this is sex. And it messes them up. We saw that. I happen to know some of the kids that were abused by a teacher at Grace Christian School. Several of them have said, I didn't see myself as homosexual ever. Mm-hmm. And now this is where I'm at, and there's some leading theories. I mean, how do you prove it's them? But borderline personality disorder is a real mental illness. And it's one that seems to come from people who suffer PTSD. And the biggest, most significant thing they have in common, especially girls who are sexually molested prepubescent, have the highest rates of borderline personality disorder. And it'll mess you up for life. You will not have healthy social relationships with anyone. It'll affect your parents, your siblings, friends. Good luck ever having a marriage. It's really bad.
Really?
It really is. And Eddie, you and I have talked about this. There's some things you said it so well. I just can't wrap my brain around certain things. And if you hadn't been around and actually see firsthand people suffering from it, you'd almost question whether it's even real.
I think that's true. I think there's so many people out there, probably that's why there's so much of it going on. For example, when you hear about the reports coming out now from the Department of Justice, how prevalent the child trafficking is, sex trafficking, mm-hmm. especially with these immigrant children and so forth. And you can think, it's easy to say, nah, if it were, we'd be hearing about it. Apparently not. When they keep breaking up a ring here, or I think it was in Nashville, one here and here, you would think, if they said California, oh yeah, that makes sense. But when they say, Indiana or I guess that's where, if you were doing that, you would probably do it in one of those states because there would be the least suspicion. happening there, right? But anyway, yeah, you're right. It's just it's hard to comprehend that you would do anything to a young innocent child like that. Child abuse, the beating and mistreating, just in general. I don't get it.
A movie came out 2 years ago, Sound of Freedom.
Yeah, I saw it.
Jim Caviezel.
Yeah, I saw that
put
movie.
that together. I would say to our viewers, to understand this, that's probably my most recommended viewing to understand is, and there are just a lot of sick, demented people out there.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah. Basically, I'm gonna tell you about the whole movie or how it ends, but basically, they were inviting kids to a talent show, or it was like recruiters for some talent, acting and singing or whatever, and they would get them, and they would get the parents to drop them off. And they say, oh, it's going to be all day, so don't come back. You don't need to stay around. Just go away and come back at 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever. The parents come back, the kids are gone.
Mm-hmm.
They're gone. And then it was them using, there's a group, it's a private organization that hunts down these missing and exploited children. And that's what got involved in this with Jim, that Jim was representing one of these people, and they went after, and they ended up finding several of them and rescuing these kids. But yeah, it's really something, because if you just hear about it, you can't believe that this stuff actually would go on or that anybody could get away with it.
Yeah, I was trying to, Ben Berkwam's with Real America's Voice. I'm trying to remember the guy's name that does a lot of reporting with him, a Hispanic guy. Before he even joined Real America's Voice, I saw one of his blog posts, and I posted it up, in which he was saying this was a Biden thing during the Obama years to open the borders. And he said the reason to do it was to open avenues of child sex trafficking. Oh. And I posted that up. And for my news, Sooner Politics News, it became the #1 news story. And I had like 250,000 hits. And this guy wrote me, who's now with Real America's Voice, thanking me for posting that up because it drove so much traffic to what he's doing. And I think that's largely why he got the gig with Real America's Voice, was because of that. And I'm like, good. Well, he's a good guy. And, but he literally said that was the intent and motive of Obama and Biden in opening our borders.
Really?
To make it easier for sex trafficking.
See, I mean, I remember back in the 80s working overseas in Amsterdam with the prostitution and everything like that. And hearing people that would come over talking about how there were these secret sex clubs or whatever, mainly with people with more money, and it's just the most horrible. I mean, this stuff was really bad. In other words, the underworld, the mafia at the time, and certain people, they would, doing the snuff films and things like that.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff. You just cannot imagine the depravity of mind that somebody would have to do these things, which, let me use it to transition into something else. Israel, that the Palestinians could take babies, put them in ovens, and feel no remorse.
Yeah.
It's the same type of thing. And we want to put degrees on it, but they're all bad. But, this is a truly reprobate mind. I mean, that's the personification of a reprobate mind, that somebody could sit there and do that and not feel any remorse. Yeah. It's just weird to me.
So here's an interesting thing. Eddie, you and I grow up, social studies classes, we learn about different civilizations. We hear about the Incas and the Aztecs.
And the human sacrifice.
Yes. Now we think, how
Mayans.
depraved. Yes, how depraved. And like, we live in the enlightened era, right?
Yeah.
Well, look at Epstein's Island. Who went there? Who got abused and molested? Underage girls by the super wealthy.
I'm still trying to figure out. See, that's a weird one for me, because yes, I understand, who all was involved and what was, but what about the parents of the girls? How do you let your daughter go off onto some island or something? I mean, maybe you can explain it. Maybe I'm missing part of the story,
Eddie,
but no one's really explained.
You and I grew up in good families, and our kids grew up at intact families. Imagine those who don't. Imagine those who, who's got custody of them this week? Well, I thought you did. No. Well, she told me that you were taking her. So, no, she's not here. Where is she? She's somewhere.
Sometimes I wonder, though, if it wasn't a deal where they were telling the parents, oh, we want them to be valets or a hostess for these. Well, and Bill and Hillary Clinton are going to be there.
Yes.
Oh, my daughter gets to hang around where the Clintons and Bill Gates and you name them, whoever.
Well, remember, what was said back in the 20s and 30s was respectable people don't do disrespectable things. So it was that backwards logic that nothing's wrong because they're respectable people. Now, then, Alex Jones covers a lot of this. He talks about Bohemian Grove and some of the, crazy stuff that goes on there. It's, imagine it's people in high office and you're already seeing it.
Yeah.
The Epstein list. We aren't that far from the Aztecs.
Well, forget that. I mean, don't forget it, but put that aside a second and think of abortion.
Mm-hmm.
You think, and they want basically late term abortion. I mean, Democrats aren't satisfied that if you want to give it 6 weeks, oh no, you can't, or 16 weeks. I don't know what the deal is, but they want it up to the moment of of birth. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
If you cannot distinguish between a living human being inside a womb and outside of a womb, you're not right in the head. Because, for example, we were talking about it this morning. Okay. Mm-hmm. A minister that we both know real well. Mm-hmm. Good guy, very smart, does incredible writing and so forth. And he and I disagreed on the whole deal of how to deal with abortion. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, the true way to deal with abortion is you lock up the mother.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to, get the doctor, get the guy, get the this and this. And he said, oh no, you can't do that because it's the poor woman, they're being abused and they're being forced to do it. And I said, well, let me ask you this. It's the day after the baby's born. The baby's not here anymore, but it's out of the womb. Mm-hmm. And
the Governor Ralph Northam scenario.
The guy, but it's the guy, the husband or the boyfriend says, oh, we got to get rid of this baby. Mm-hmm. And then the woman, because he threatens her, you better get rid of that baby. Mm-hmm. She kills the baby. Yeah. Is she still innocent? I guarantee you she's going to jail.
Right.
For manslaughter.
Well,
baby slaughter. But yet, for some reason, in some people's minds, even Christian, even pro or anti-abortionists get it into their minds that as long as the baby's in and it gets aborted, it's the poor innocent mother. Mm-hmm. But it's the same thing. The difference is a uterus. Mm-hmm. A uterus is keeping it from being legal and being murder. Right.
Well, and your scenario, let's go a little further. What's that guy going to pay in child support? If it's $500 a month times 12 months times 18, you're over $100,000. He might offer her a cash settlement. Get rid of it and I'll cut you a check for $8,000.
Oh man. Yeah.
I mean, really? The incentive's there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's not unreasonable.
Well, no, but you know what the usual incentive is? Look what it'll do to your education.
Yeah.
It'll ruin your education. In fact, that's the reason my daughter had an abortion, because she was between summers of college. And the baby would have gotten in her way of finishing it. And she was talked into it, not on her own. And she cried and agonized through it. And
convenience.
Exactly. And so it's a similar deal, but it just I don't understand people that want to hold the woman harmless. You will never end it. You will never end abortion until you hold the mother responsible.
Yeah.
Guilty. No. You killed that baby.
Yeah.
You brought now, and I know they're going to be, oh no, you're so mean. You got to understand the poor woman and what they're doing. No, I'm sorry, I can't. That would be like saying these teenagers that are going out here and shooting and killing someone, a 14-year-old in the hood. He's 13, 14, and some older gang person gave him the gun, told him to go kill somebody. Well, you can understand a poor 14-year-old child. No, I don't understand it.
I understand a dead body on the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where I'm not trying to be cruel and unusual, but that's the only way you can really stop it. And the pro-abortionists, they know this. They know that's the only way you stop it.
I've got two important points here. And the first one, before we get too far removed. For years now, your daughter's been working to save other babies. Right. She runs I want you folks to understand he's proud of his daughter and what she's done to correct her errors. Right? Was that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Good,
yeah,
good. Because I feel like we should say the whole story.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But the second thing I want to say, when I first heard you make that point about you cannot hold the woman harmless on this, you said it to Pat Campbell.
Yeah.
It was right after, I think, Everett Piper goes on with him. With the whole, no, you can't blame the woman. You can't blame the woman. And you were just, and it was all about Donald Trump because he got it right until they talked him into the other thing.
Yeah.
Trump, his instincts were right.
Right. When they first asked him, he said, no, you got to hold the woman.
And the religious leaders screwed him up.
I know. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
It wasn't the left. It was the religious leaders.
Yeah.
And see, well, I'll tell you what it really is. I mean, oh man, we're meddling now, Dave. We're in dangerous territory. And I hate to say it, a lot of your pro-life organizations are the same as the NAACP. Instead of being race pimps, they're abortion pimps. In other words, if we ended abortion, it would take their job away.
Well, that's what I thought was going to happen. I thought Natural Right to Life would disband. Now, remember, March of Dimes used to be fighting polio, and polio got cured. They did the right thing. They found something else. Now it's birth defects.
Right.
Good. You got the institution, put it to good use.
Right. Well, the reason a lot of your pro-life organizations still exist is because it's not illegal in every state.
Yes. I mean,
and even in Oklahoma, where it is illegal, they still counsel women, I guess, to not go to another state to get one.
It is. And that's the reason I said, and Pat Campbell loved it. First time he had me on the air was because of my report. The nuns who taught me about being pro-life, this is back in the 60s, before Roe versus Wade. They have nothing to be ashamed of in the term pro-life. It was about protecting the most at-risk portions of our society. And there's always going to be portions at risk, whether it's the elderly, the mentally ill, whoever.
Right.
And so, there's plenty for the natural right to life to do.
Right. Exactly. So hey, I want to switch gears real quick. I'm going to go to a couple of different things.
Good.
One, Bill Maher, host of the Bill Maher Show.
Yeah.
He got really upset and he put Dr. Phil was on there and he put him on a hot seat. And this was yesterday. And because what Dr. Phil did, I don't know if you remember, if you've seen the films, but he went undercover. I don't know, undercover, but he escorted ICE agents in making ICE raids. And so Bill Maher attacked him for doing this. You know, why are you going on these ICE raids? I don't understand that. In other words, why would you do that? That's not a good thing to do. And and marketing, you're a guy who we know for so many years has been working to put families together, bring families who are apart, heal them, and now you're going on raids with people who are literally separating families, the typical liberal deal. So now Dr. Phil.
Isn't that what they're doing to Joel Kralichek? They're separating his family.
Well, yeah. Oh, sure. Well, and here's Dr. Phil's, and I'm going to change the wording a little bit. Mm-hmm. He said to Bill, well, now that's bull crap. Mm-hmm. He didn't use the word crap. He used another word.
Yep.
BS. He said, well, now that's bull before launching into a comparison. Look, if you arrest somebody that's a citizen that's committing a crime or is DUI with a child in the back seat, do you think they don't separate the family right then, right there? Mm-hmm. And of course they do. And that's exactly right. Yeah. These people want to say, oh, the poor children, the poor family, you're separating these families. Mm-hmm. And that I've heard, this is an old argument that he's making, but it's exactly right. If you're a dad, or take the guy we were just talking about with the
Joe Kralichek
pornography, they're separating him from his family.
Yeah, he's got teenage sons at home.
Right, and let's say the children were younger. I mean, oh no, have compassion on him. You don't want to take him away. Mm-hmm. If you're committing the crime, you got to do the time. It's to say, but no. So, you know, hats off to Dr. Phil. He seems to have become more conservative of late. He's taken the opposite of the Oprah approach.
You know, he's a TU student, our graduate.
Are you serious? Dr. Phil.
He went to college at University of Tulsa. Wow. Played football.
Are you serious?
Not kidding.
Wow, I bet TU doesn't want to acknowledge that. It's like Booker T. Washington High School. You know, they don't want anything to do with the real Booker T. Washington.
No,
what he believed.
He was working in mental health field and counseling, and ran into some of Oprah's people. They brought him on the show, and he had him on a few times. Right. And eventually the producer said, this guy could do his own show.
Yeah, Phil is.
Oprah gave him his shot.
That's funny.
And I'll bet she's lamenting it.
It's like.
Yeah.
What's the young psychologist, the young other psychiatrist? He does now a lot of fitness stuff. Really fit looking at. He's got like white hair, but with, what is his name, Doctor? He used to be on MTV. I can't think of his name. I'm sorry. But anyway, he's the same. He's become more, he's on Fox and he's on Newsmax now. So it's weird. A lot of these psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors are starting to get more conservative there because they're seeing how crazy things have gotten. Anyway, moving to sports, we're going to have to wrap up. I've got somebody coming in here myself.
Sure.
Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
He got dissed badly at the draft. He ended up going in with the 6th round.
Back up at Cleveland Browns.
Right. Well, he stunned the sports world in his first preseason game after a controversial start to the NFL career. Mm-hmm. Controversy was they expect him to go in the top 10, and he drops to the 6th round.
It's not his fault.
No, it was his dad. They were trying to punish.
They don't want a dad on the sideline.
Well, maybe, but yeah, they just don't like his dad's shenanigans. But anyway, the Cleveland Browns quarterback Shedeur Sanders threw 2 touchdown passes in his first preseason game Friday night, shocking many fans after the unsteady start. Now, why would they be shocked? If you ever actually sat down and watched him play at Colorado, you would realize this guy is really good.
He was second in the Heisman voting.
Yeah. And all of a sudden he's not good anymore. And they're shocked that he's good.
Fact is, he outvoted Dylan Gabriel in the Heisman.
Well, yeah, of course. And in fact, it's funny because Dylan Gabriel is now on the same team.
Yes.
He got drafted ahead of him and said the rookie got it. I mean, I know this sounds bad, but I think it is God rewarding, because normally you would be ticked off. Aaron Rodgers, remember Aaron Rodgers? He got drafted 21st. He was still in the first round, but he was very mad because he was supposed to be one of the top draft choices, but he had to wait to the 21st or 22nd choice in the first round. Okay, so he's still in the first round. Shador had to sit there for day. How many days is it? 3 day. He didn't get drafted till the third day, and he went just ahead of Mr. What they call him, Mr. There's a term for the last guy drafted. Anyway, they make a big deal about whoever the last person is.
Like Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy was him, not Mr. Incredible, Mr. Irrelevant. It's a terrible name, Mr. Irrelevant. But anyway, but here's what's interesting. This is why I'm saying how God. Now, I don't want OU fans in particular. Well, OU fans may not care because Dylan Gabriel left and they're mad at him anyway. But it's interesting how it works, because the rookie Sanders got his start for the Browns in the first preseason game due to injuries to quarterbacks Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel. And despite the first few months as a pro, Sanders fell to the 144th pick in the spring draft after scouts raised character. Now, nobody ever talked about any character concerns about him during the whole season or after. No, ever, and he's a Christian kid.
It's not like, what's his name? Randy Vikings. Randy Moss. Randy Moss was a troubled kid, had all kinds of behavioral issues. Yeah. It still was a great grab by Dennis Green. But I'm looking up here the depth chart for the Cleveland Browns, and they showed Joe Flacco's number 1. And I would see Joe maybe played a couple of series and then sat out, right? Because the preseason is where you test your depth chart. Right. Yeah. And then Kenny Pickett is the number 2. And then number 3, they list 3 of them. There are 5 quarterbacks in camp.
I can't believe that.
5. And Dylan Gabriel, then Shador Sanders, and then Deshaun Watson's on the staff.
He was actually the one that was supposed to be number 1. After all his trouble in Houston, where he had sexual allegations. Anyway, but he got traded to Cleveland. He was their fair-haired guy, and he got injured, and he was facing the lawsuits from these women, and now all of a sudden you're saying he's last?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
But you think of it, you got 5 quarterbacks, and even the 5th one made the the NCFL playoffs last year for Houston, and he's number 5.
See, that to me does injustice to 3 of them at least. And 2 of them are probably only going to make it.
See, I thought they grabbed him as trading partner, and they may still be.
I think he'd be a good one, because there are some teams that could probably use a quarterback,
because they don't need all 5 of these guys.
No. Joe Flacco, he's done. He's a good quarterback. He's just crested that hill, that mountain. So
you hang on to a guy like that, and he ask him to be a mentor, and maybe give him 3 years, and he might be starting beginning of the season, but I don't think he will by the end of the season.
Well, he shouldn't. I am against people starting this. It's like, what's his name? Brock Purdy. Remember, he was number 3, and the other 2 got injured. Same thing happened. He came in towards the second half of the season, and all of a sudden, wow, look at this guy, and he. I think he's a great. I think he's just a good. And I hated Iowa State in the Big 12 because they would always mess up OU.
You hate him for being good, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah. It was that kind of hate. Yeah, not it was a respectful hate, and Tech, he would mess over Tech. OU or OSU would have a fantastic season, and then they'd be undefeated, and then they'd go to Iowa and lose against Iowa State.
Iowa State, I always saw scrappy.
Yeah.
Playing at peak or above their level.
And they've got a great basketball team now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what I think you're going to see. Now, can you tell me about Dylan Gabriel's injury?
I don't know. No, are you reading about it?
No,
I don't know how he got injured, but it says he's injured and Gabriel and who's the other one? Kenny Pickett, who was a top draft choice for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mm-hmm. And then he all of a sudden, everybody had these high hopes. He went to the University of Pittsburgh, so he's a hometown. Everybody, yeah. And, he's there one season, boom, and he's gone.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's not how you start, it's how you finish, really.
Yeah.
As they say.
By the way, a little bit of sports media here. Do you hear that the NFL Network has been acquired by ESPN?
Yeah. Get rid of your competition.
And now the NFL now has been given a partial ownership of ESPN in the deal. So,
more money.
Well,
although the NFL is probably making more money than ESPN. It's probably the reverse. ESPN probably is the big one.
Yeah, but if you're Fox Sports or CBS Sports, you got to be frustrated with this because now the NFL, are they going to tip the scale in the favor of the network deal that they are a 10% owner of? Yeah. Because I'm furious with ESPN. I think it's ruined it for me because I've got to pay into them, extra fees.
Well, unless you have a package.
But that's it. Big part of that package is they charge cable systems like $10 for everybody who gets ESPN on there. It's, and that's why it's usually an add-on. They can say, without ESPN, we can give you a
cable ESPN is always in the package, no matter what. Now, you may not get the extra. You may only get two, ESPN and ESPN 1 and 2, or ESPN News. But now they've got like 5 ESPNs.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when I was on, since Cox Cable 20 years ago, you got your really low one, which is the local channels, right? And then you got your basic cable. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I remember early you had, even that didn't have Fox News. You had to go to the level 3. And ESPN's always been at level 3.
Well, not anymore. ESPN is in the basic package now.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't. I think they realized you can't sell unless you have ESPN. That's what did it, basically. It's one of those, it's like Fox. It used to be Fox, or Fox Business was not in the main package. Now anywhere you look, you've got Fox Business, because Fox Business has surpassed CNBC as the business channel, right? And so now in your basic package, you're going to get ESPN 1, 2, and one other one, and then you'll get Fox News and Fox Business. You get all of those. So yeah, things have changed. They want to follow where their money is. And so that's where. Yeah, I listened to the one, though, what I was going to say, what everybody needs to get, though, is I can't even think of the name of it. The one where it only shows all the touchdowns. End zone. The end zone or something zone. But anyway, the football, and what it does, you watch every touchdown of every team. So while the game's going on, anytime they pass the 20-yard line, they will automatically, or whoever's closest to the end zone there. So, and if you got 4 teams, in fact, they had.
What is that? NFL Red Zone?
Red Zone. Thank you. Red Zone. And so with Red Zone, then it'll have 6 games at one time up there because they're all about to score. And the one, whoever's play is up, boom, that one goes bigger. And then it's the coolest thing. And my wife said, "Oh, I hate it. What are you doing? And now she cannot watch a game. She only watches Red Zone. And we do. That's right. You will see every game, every touchdown of every game. And a lot of those play, and it keeps jumping around.
See, I would follow baseball if I had a package like that, where it only showed the pitch being delivered. Because baseball would be 1/10 the length of a game if you just watch the pitches.
That brings up something else. The banana. Oh, what are they called? There's a banana league. I don't know if you heard of it. Have you seen it? and there's a team called the Bananas. I cannot think of the name of it, but they're selling out stadiums now, baseball.
Oh,
stadiums.
is this
it's like the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah, that's right. We talked about it last week. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's just taking off. I mean, it's just going crazy, you know. And they had a game last night, you know, but it I mean, the thing about it is they're like the Harlem Globetrotters. These players are really good.
I mean, let's face it. Vince McMahon was decades ahead of his time. He realized that you got to sell it as entertainment.
And it's entertaining, and families are going. And like I said, they're bringing, 50,000 people, 60,000 people to watch these clowns. They're basically clowns. I mean, they wear weird hats and while they're playing, and they'll start dancing, and even the umpire is dancing while it's the craziest thing, but it's entertaining.
Okay, I saw some entertainment last Sunday.
Right, in a baseball game.
No, a WNBA game.
Oh.
It was the Flying Phalluses League.
The what?
Flying Phalluses.
And you watched this?
No.
Oh.
You haven't heard what's going on in WNBA?
Oh.
People throwing.
Well, it was one game that.
No, it's happened in several games now.
Well, they put an end to it because they're
not talking about it.
What do you mean they're not talking about it?
Because the copycats are going crazy.
Oh. Well.
So they're just. Don't look here. I mean, literally, the cameras are turning that. Now they are. Do not encourage this.
Right, but I heard they banned it. They're not doing it anymore.
Oh, it's banned, but it's happening.
Well, I don't think it's really. No, I think because the article I read, they nipped it in the bud. They finally found out what it was. It's some new company, and to try to get their name out, they thought they would just be outrageous because exactly what you're saying. It's everywhere that they're talking about this, and so now they accomplished their goals. They got their name in the national news.
No, I mean, it was the last Sunday because it had been going on all that week. And Sunday, I'm watching our Indiana Fever against a Seattle team in Seattle. Mm-hmm. There goes another one, Yeah,
I think it was this week when that's probably what did it, put an end to it, because it was during that game, which was a high-profile game.
It was.
Yeah.
It was, nationally televised. And interesting on that, what's her name? Sullivan, Sonia?
Yeah, I don't know.
She's the blonde gal that's with the Indiana team. Cunningham.
Oh, Lindsay.
Is it Lindsay Cunningham?
Mm-hmm.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure it's Lindsay.
Tall blonde forward. She was shooting three-pointers, lights out, amazing. But she's flat out went to the press, made the allegation of what's going on is nothing but pure racism towards her, towards Caitlin Clark, and a bunch of them. And there she said it. Now, see, I don't buy that narrative completely. About that it's some promo for a dildo company. I think there are a lot of people that want to support, kind of like you, Eddie, want to support women's basketball and see the intolerance of the lesbian left, the loudmouth urban black lesbian woman. Mm-hmm. Which seems to be a pretty high percent.
Yeah.
Of it. And I think that's what's going on.
Well, that's why the refs are not calling stuff because on the attacks on the Fever girls, because the three white girls in particular, at least, are heterosexual. They're not
right,
and they're flaunting it. It's not just they're not. They come dressed and everybody's giving them attention. And that's one reason I think everybody is attacking them so much, because all of a sudden you got these high-profile heterosexual white women, and that flies in the face of everything that the left is trying to promote in the media. Hey, Alto's at the door, so either we wrap up.
Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap up.
Or we make him part of our program.
Let me go bring him in.
Okay.
Well, let's put him on headphones.
The Flying Dutchman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, there's a lot going on. And I'm sure as soon as we leave, I'd like to talk about Donald Trump. He's winning. He says he's going to win. And he is definitely winning with these trade negotiations. Everybody proclaimed doom with the tariffs. The tariffs are bringing in billions of dollars. And now these other companies are changing their tune on tariffs. They're finally come to heel, and so we've leveled the playing field out. So it's exciting that our president is having victories. So anyway, I was just talking about the tariff situation.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alto is in the building.
Look at that beard. Are you going for Rip Van Winkle?
Well, I'll tell you a quick story, and I kind of put myself in the...
All right, hold on. We got to get you. Let me turn this on. All right, hold on. I'll tell you when.
We're like your 60 Minutes camera crew.
Yeah.
You know?
When they told me some time ago, why are you growing your beard? And I said, I will not cut my beard again until Trump is in the White House.
Oh.
But you decided to keep going. Are you going now until he's out of the White House?
There's just a few people that heard me say that,
okay,
including my sister-in-law, who's adamant about me cutting it. So,
your sister-in-law wants you to
she
cut it.
doesn't like my beard.
Yeah, you kind of look starting to look like Rip Van Winkle. His beard was all the way to his feet. So.
Yeah, for some reason it won't go longer than this, so I'm good with this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's age. It's age. It gets a certain point. But I think what happened, it went from here and started coming out.
Yeah,
here.
and I have no problem with this. Is easy maintenance. I love this.
Yeah.
This is okay.
Yeah.
I figured you got a demo with the Oak Ridge Boys or something,
Well, so their beard is a lot longer too. So
Hey, so listen quickly, and you talk over in that direction, but every week when we get done, you text me what we failed to talk about. So what is the hot thing that you think we need to talk about, and then we'll decide whether we talked about it or not, or that people would.
Well, you're really putting me on the spot because I've been on vacation a few days, so I haven't been listening to current news.
Oh, so what you're saying is that when you work, you're not just working, you're
got an earpiece in. But this is an interesting thing that you guys did not bring up, and I should have brought some notes. Mm-hmm. But I heard a opening monologue of Eric Erickson talking about Trump wanting to do a new census.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is big news. Yeah, that is a good point. We didn't.
And according to Eric, who has done some interesting research on this, he's a lawyer and he knows people and he's done some deep research. He says it's not going to work because apparently 3 years, this is all law mandated, 3 years before you do the census, you have to supply the topics. 2 years before, you have to supply the questions. There was something else that you have to do a year before. And the census has to be between April and September. He could have done it, but it would have been Biden that had to start it in order to do it in 25.
Are those agency rules? Or are they written into statutory code?
He sounded pretty confident and adamant about that he was just not bringing out certain opinions. These were all statutes or mandated in the law.
But here's what you could do. First of all, he's also going to have to get it funded. It's not cheap.
$20 billion.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to go to Congress and get them to appropriate. Mm-hmm. At the same time, they can amend the statutory code. Right. So, and then you got to hire a workforce, and then it takes months to do it.
Yeah.
It would not affect next year's elections.
No. This will be the next presidential election.
Gotcha.
Which is, to me, that's the important one anyway.
Right.
And then future elections beyond that.
Right.
But he was mentioning the fact that you can, most censuses are done every 10 years. So like in 2020.
Yeah.
But they do sometimes, and there's record of it, that censuses have been done in 25,
right,
5 years from now. But again, it should have already started in April. So he's already passed the next goal will be having to be 5 years from now.
But my point, you can change the law.
It's too late.
No, well,
in order to do it this year,
this
odd
year,
year, yeah,
but,
25.
but the next presidential election, yeah.
You know,
Right.
but you see my point that questions have to be, topics have to be presented like 3, 2, and 1 year.
unless
So
you
it is a
change the
whole-
law.
Unless you
Yeah.
change the law.
So that's what I'm saying. They could get it done. It would not affect next year's midterms,
Right.
but you could conduct the census the following year, be 2027. And then you would have to let the legislatures do the redistricting. That's the other part.
Yeah, that's the other big
Because
thing
it's
we
the
haven't
state
talked about yet.
legislatures that do that. It would be a rush.
Yeah.
I think you're up against a lot of things, but
Yeah.
it's more practical.
And how willing is Congress? Right.
Well,
You've brought
the
that up before.
Republicans are the key is, do we hold the Congress
Right, true, also.
next year?
Yeah.
Unless now, when I ran Santorum's 12 campaign here in Oklahoma, I got a lot of help from Texas Santorum supporters because theirs got tied up in the courts and they couldn't do their primary on primary day. They did not get to participate that year. I mean, it was already a done deal by then. So they came up and they did Durant and Lawton and Ardmore, and they had, because they were that ticked off. They said, we've been disenfranchised by a bunch of Democrat lawsuits.
Right.
So I think you'd see that even more, even if they did get it passed. I think it would just get tied up, just like Texas experienced. So,
well, a lot more people are waking up, like the southern counties of Texas, for reasons beyond my understanding, continually kept voting Democrat until now they see all the damage that has been done. Perhaps a lot of family members are involved in perhaps either border patrol or other victims because of all the illegal border crossings. So they have woken up, and the census, the redistricting in Texas is valid because it's going to honor the elections in Texas.
I'll tell you another reason it couldn't be allowed when they started, and this was the smartest thing when Fox News and others, well, primarily Fox News, but started broadcasting Africans coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Because the South Americans and the Central Americans, they're not too keen on all of the
Haitians
and Africans and people of color, let's put it that way, truly brown people or black people that are coming in all of a sudden. Whoa, wait a minute, not so fast. Now all of a sudden we thought it was only going to affect us, make it easy for us, but now you're bringing Ukrainians and Russians and Yugoslavs. And
I want to find out, did Eric Erickson have any other recommendations?
I just heard the opening monologue at the first hour, which is about 20 minutes, and that's when I'll turn it off.
Sure. Well, here's where I'm going on this. I think Texas, it's pretty roundly accepted, Texas got screwed in the last census.
Yeah.
And I think it would make sense if Biden would have suppressed the numbers. Just, not done it, because he got to be in charge of this one.
And they're going to get the redistricting done. They'll put all those people in jail. But
they only got one additional house, and they should have gotten more than one. How you rearrange your allotted.
But that one extra house seat, that was from before. They're trying to get more now, and that's why the Democrats have fled.
The argument is, if the census in 2021 had been done right.
Oh, you're talking about the census. Yeah.
It would have. And is there a possibility of a lawsuit to sue the federal government?
See,
you got to take it away from some other state.
Well, yeah, but or they could say because that was a false census or it wasn't legit. Maybe that's the angle they could use to say we've got to have another. We can't wait 10 years. We need to write this now, and they get that census out there.
The interesting thing that I think Erickson also brought up in that monologue, a little different, but on the same level, in a way, that Trump wants only citizens to vote in the election. Citizens only going to be counted. And so Erickson also said that's not going to work because the law mandates according to public school access and social services, we need to know how many people are in the country.
We don't really need to know that, but that I know that's the interpretation.
That's the way it's being
but
played.
It shouldn't be. You see, that's something that's I've never understood how, because if I go to Germany, if we go to Holland, they're not going to let me vote in the
Right.
Dutch elections because I'm an immigrant or I moved.
Are they going to treat you in the emergency room?
Oh yeah, I'm sure they'll treat me.
So that goes to his point. Is the government services are affected. The money that's set aside for things like emergency.
But it's easy to separate those. You can still, humanitarian wise, we're going to take care of anybody injured, in need, in emergency.
But they use a formula based on the census count.
It's a broader field that they play. They're talking about public school. They're talking about other social services, and
public schools. I don't think illegals should be able to put their if you're not here legally and you're not counted in the census, unless you're here legally and a legal resident, etc. You shouldn't allow your kids to go to school.
Well, you and I agree there, but the Supreme Court ruled otherwise.
Well, then we need, but that was a prior Supreme Court. I don't think it was this one we have here.
It should be challenged.
It should be challenged.
I mean, can you imagine certain school districts where there's going to be in certain classes kids there that have no idea how to communicate in English? How much is this going to slow down?
Lena Ashley's talked about it here in Tulsa.
And ESL programs are horrible. In fact, I know some people that moved here from El Salvador. They took their kids out of that and they just said, no, I don't want our kids in the ESL classes. English is a second language. And we're just going to throw them in. Like, for example, my daughter, when we moved from Holland, which they were fluent in English and Dutch. Then we moved to Germany. She didn't understand. So, but they picked up the Dutch instantly. Well, when we moved to Germany, there was another American girl in her class, and the teacher thought she was doing her a favor, sitting her next to the American girl. And it stunted my daughter's learning because she was always speaking English. And as soon as we pulled her out of that school eventually and moved to another school where she was just German.
Sink or swim.
She instantly, boom.
Oh, but it's easy for young children to pick it up.
Oh, it is.
My best friend, next door neighbor in Holland, was from the middle part of the country, and his parents could not speak Frisian, couldn't even understand it.
Yeah.
But the oldest became my best friend, and his sister became best friends with my sister. And they could speak fluently Frisian. You couldn't tell the difference.
So for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, there's a northern part of Germany and Holland. It's called Friesland. And the Fries have their own basic language, and it helps you understand German because it's partially German, it's Dutch, and it's in the Dutch. Excuse me for saying this. They make fun of the Frieslanders.
I think it's more the other way around.
See, the German language.
That's because you're from there. You don't hear what I hear.
The German language was devised as a cheap excuse to clear the phlegm from your throat.
No, that's Dutch.
See?
No, and that's why
it's Flemish. You'll say
that's why they call it Flemish. Yeah. That's where he's from.
We say
Belgium.
Friesland Bopa. Everybody else in the group. I've already messed it up a little, but it says we are on top. Everybody else is in the ditch.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey,
northern.
So you heard any of the scandals like Joe Krylacek?
Yeah, it was heavy heavy topics here today.
Yeah. And had you followed it in the news?
Just reading headlines, have not done any research.
Yeah, I haven't either.
It's something that you did not bring up, not as serious, but at the same time, you're listening to this and you're scratching your head. What is wrong with people? This is a minister from Claremore. It was in the same time when the FEMA director story broke. He was caught following ladies and filming under skirts.
Oh, yeah.
This actually happened last year, but he claimed that he was a creep and it was going to be pushed into federal. And I think they finally have overruled it. So now he's getting prosecuted.
Well, I don't know.
And we're listening to this and going like, this is a minister.
Yeah. Well, what I heard though is that there was one lady, not more than one.
No,
okay. Well, the report I read, there was one, and she was actually his girlfriend. And they were out doing this thing where just wanted to make something exciting. And I'll tell you why I could believe it, because I had some friends who used to go out to a bar or a nightclub on a Friday night and pretend they didn't know each other.
Mm-hmm.
And he would go out.
There's a lot of videos out there like
and he would he would pick his wife up.
Fake videos or
it was him picking his wife up, and they would meet at these and pretend they had different names and
it's
different
a fantasy thing.
Yeah. So I don't know, but the story I read that he had said that this was his girlfriend that he was filming, and she apparently went with him. But I don't know. That might have been a lie, make-up story.
Maybe so.
And if you said there's several women, then
I hope for his sake that you are right on what you've heard. But still, as a minister, you're going like, what is wrong with people?
Well, yeah. Oh no, you're right. But
there was a minister in Claremore, 20 years ago, had to do with molesting a kid. He went to McAllister and they killed him.
Oh yeah, that's what they do to a child. In fact, what was the show they used to be on where they showed the Tulsa County Jail? It was a national program, but they used the Tulsa jail as an example. I mean, they actually filmed
Live PD.
No, this was more what happened after. It was in the jail.
Okay.
And they had this guy, it was an Asian guy who was convicted of child rape or molesting an under. And what it was, again, it was a guy, a youth pastor at a church. He was 20 and she was like 17. And they had a relationship. She was actually his girlfriend. And so it was consensual. I mean, they were dating and all, and it was only petting. There was no actual even intercourse or anything. But some prosecutor wanted to make a case out of it, put him in jail. It became a big deal because it wasn't Grace. It was one of these other churches, one of the newer ones. But anyway, so then what happened, he's in jail down there. And the prisoners, the other guys, because the charge was molestation of an underage.
A minor. Yeah.
A minor, right. And in their mind, they're thinking 10-year-old, 12-year-old. They were wanting to beat the guy up and probably kill him, like you said. And then the warden of the Tulsa jail, they interviewed, they had him, and he had a meeting with all of the people and tell them what the situation was, and all these prisoners that were ready to kill this guy, they all said, oh, wow, okay, we didn't realize that's the deal. But so sometimes there has to be clarification in everything, because what the media will do, they're always going to try to push the most.
You know what I'm going to do? I help train detention officers down there. It's amazing. They're more social workers because they're in a pod with like 30 guys and they are not armed. And their weapon is their ability to communicate. And they're some of the sharpest people. It doesn't pay much, but I'm going to see if Regalado can get me one of them to come in here and talk about that, because it's amazing how Tulsa does it. Different from a lot of, it's really a well-run jail as far as county jail.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're sitting in on him talking to these prisoners, explaining what this guy's situated, that the girl was actually 17 years old. If it had been, or if it had been, 6 months later, it wouldn't even be a deal. Oh, and here's the thing I don't understand. Okay. I don't know if there's two different rules. Okay. If you're in a role as a minister or a public official or thing, then you can't be over 21 and she can't be under 18. But if you're a normal citizen, it's like 16 and 18 or 20
Yeah,
or something.
school teachers get hit by that one more than anyone. Because if they're enrolled in your school, it doesn't matter if they're 18.
Right.
Because of the academic environment. Now, colleges doesn't apply to, but common ed.
Right. But in this case, so for example, if they had just been church members,
Yeah.
then the guy would never have been arrested.
Yeah,
Would
it's that leadership role.
Right.
That does that. I didn't know it applied to churches, but I know it does to academic institutions.
Yeah, it applies to churches
So-
too. And so that was what was made it so bad. But, you know, it's funny because there's a big church. You wouldn't know the name of this pastor, but it's a well-known, the name of the church is well-known. And he was like 18 or 19 and his wife was 13, something like that. And when he first met her, and they started a relationship, you know, when she was like 15 or something. And I mean, he ended up marrying her. They ended up getting married, but they had been having this romantic relationship from the time she was a young girl. And anyway, but when I first heard it, even I was a young Christian when I first heard it, and I'm going, what?
I was associate pastor in Minneapolis, 21. Debbie was 17.
So you were a child molester?
No, we both got married as virgins. We both wore white. What? I'm supposed to be ashamed of that?
No, I'm not saying. I'm making a joke, basically.
Yeah, I know, and I had a comeback for you.
Similar. And how old was she when you got married?
18.
Oh, so you waited.
And I was 22. Yeah.
Right. So you waited a couple of years.
Yeah.
Right. But now, you know, in the old school, you know, they'd probably made you get married when she was still 17, or you know how dad gets you the shotgun wedding.
Yeah, but we weren't doing anything inappropriate.
It didn't have to be inappropriate. It was the appearance of impropriety.
Well, that's their dirty mind.
No, I understand. I'm just saying that how social mores change, times change, and different things.
What did happen when I interviewed for that job, and the senior pastor there, you were talking, and the first thing we had to do was staff up for our summer church camp, and they needed a junior high counselor. They couldn't, and I said, how about if Debbie, my girlfriend, does it? She was a senior, you know, and ended up, it worked out great. And she was really quite a leader, you know. And then he told me, he says, how are things with you and Debbie? I said, great. I said, you know, this is a long time coming. We've been friends for a long time. And it was really middle of last year in Bible school that we realized, hey, when I get up there, we need to see if this is where our relationship goes. He says, well, it's really convenient for me. And I said, tell me. He said, well, you're going to be teaching our Christian school, and we got high school girls in there. And you having a relationship that they all know about and everything, I'll have a lot less stress with parents, you know, because they'll see me as a predator if I don't have a steady girlfriend who always came with on our church events. So yeah, it was actually, they were like, you go.
Predator.
Yeah.
A legal predator.
You know, it tells me more about you in your mind than mine.
Something else. I kind of caught it. I think maybe I was already speaking 10 minutes, but did y'all talk about the fact that Putin has agreed to meet on American soil with Trump?
We haven't. No, Alaska. They're meeting in Alaska.
It will be Alaska. They were kicking around Hungary, and
it's a shorter flight.
They were also talking about Qatar. In fact, because Putin was down there in Qatar, and he said, yeah, this would be a great place.
You know why they're meeting in Alaska?
Why?
Because Putin is going to try to get Alaska back.
You think so? You know what when they were talking,
you ripped us off those years ago. Just like you did the Native Americans on Manhattan.
I was looking at the map and I'm like, how does Putin get to Hungary? Because Serbia is friendly to him, but he's going to have to, fly in a roundabout way to get there.
He's the richest man of the world. He can't go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah.
Oh, exactly. I'm talking about security.
Well, not only that, but he's designated a war criminal by The Hague.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
See-
So that means America is violating the international law by hosting
under
him.
the guise of trying to
See, John,
shut down, or at least
Maybe
stop
he's
the
going to
Ukrainian
land. Maybe
war.
they're meeting in some Aleutian island
Interesting.
that is international territory that nobody has.
no, it
jurisdiction.
makes sense in so many ways to
Well,
Alaska.
the international court in The Hague. I hate that it's your country that has to be, but it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They're wanting to prosecute Israel now, Putin. On and on and on. And
Okay, so you're from Netherlands?
Mhm.
Okay. Who was this UN Secretary General back in 62?
Bhutan?
He was from Netherlands.
In 62?
Yeah. He was the only one assassinated,
Oh,
Really?
and he was assassinated by a Van Rissegem.
one of his relatives.
Well, the UN came studying my genealogy and talked to me about it.
before.
Yeah. And oh gosh, I forget. It's a really very
That's interesting.
Dutch name.
Wow.
But because this guy was committing UN troops to one side of a civil war in the Congo. And there were there was another faction wanted their own portion to have autonomy. And he was
Dag Hammarskjöld.
Hammarskjöld, yeah.
But was he Dutch?
Hang on a second. Let me see that name. I think he was from Scandinavia.
Dag Hammarskjöld.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's from Scandinavia.
Yeah, I thought he was from
Yeah,
Scandinavia because I could tell because there's an umlaut.
I didn't know if it's Denmark or Netherlands.
Yeah, I'm not sure which Scandinavian nation. Does it say? Maybe Norway?
No, I think it's Denmark.
That sounds right. Okay, let me see. Dag Hammarskjöld.
But anyway, Kennedy was furious.
Swedish.
Oh, go ahead.
He was a Swedish
And he was
economist.
assassinated?
Yes.
Where?
So he was negotiating. He's flying through from one country to another. The CIA evidently picked it up. This is the theory. And Kennedy, I think, had the CIA tip off this mercenary pilot, Jean Van Rissegem. And so their listening post in Cyprus actually was listening and taking notes. They didn't record, but they took notes of him saying, I see him. I'm going down after him. I shot him. He's going down. And then they had troops on the ground kill everybody that survived the plane crash. And this happened in 62.
Who killed him? What people was this?
It was a Belgian separatist group.
Oh, okay, Belgian separatist group. Okay.
In the Belgian Congo.
Kind of like the Moluccans.
This was actually European farmers in the Congo that didn't want to be controlled by Belgium, but they didn't want this main group of native Africans. And
Well, it was Africans that did this.
no, this mercenary, Van Rissegem,
Right.
he was hired to be a pilot
Oh, okay.
for this European ethnic group that wanted their own separate country and part of the Congo. So
And Congo being a Belgian colony.
Yeah,
back in the
it
day.
was
Belgian
up to that
Congo,
point,
Belgian
right?
Congo, right.
And so, the thought was that Kennedy decided, we're going to make him pay because the UN is supposed to be neutral. And they came heavy on one side. And he's like, this is not what we do. And ever since then, the UN hasn't gone as far as that. What happened is Obama decided once Jean Van Rissegem died that they would go ahead and release it. Now, at one time back in about the late 90s, somebody reached out to me trying to get a hold of him. I'd never heard of him. And then when the UN finally reached out to me, they claimed that this one guy claimed to be Dutch and that he was a relative and doing a genealogy. I did my own search, found that this guy is working for the UN in the Rome office, and he's a specialist on this. And he said, whoever that family was, because I had to bring it up, he's not coming from any of the known branches of your family tree. His direct family came out of Germany. When they went to Germany, we don't know. We didn't find anything out. But he died in 2011, and his son took over the property they had in the backyard. They always had this airplane prop that meant something to him. So he was a pilot. And but I don't know that he's a relative. I'm just saying.
Was he flying the plane that Hammersol and them were on?
No, he shot down the plane.
Oh, he shot the plane.
He was a pilot and a fighter pilot.
And where did it crash?
In the Belgian Congo.
In the Congo.
Yeah.
He was visiting. Okay.
And yeah, he was just flying from one neighboring country, cutting across to another.
And this guy went up in the air and shot him down. And
I'm convinced they were tipped off by the CIA. And I'm convinced it was Kennedy that gave the nod.
To kill the UN people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because he was entering the war. You know, and he's like, hey, you're part of the war now. You're not the UN anymore. But they kept it secret. And so when I found out who he was, I got a hold of, this was in 2017, they reached out to me. I called Bridenstine's office and I said, hey, you better tell, what's her name? The governor of North Carolina, that was our UN ambassador. What's her name?
The governor
Nikki Haley?
Nikki Haley, thank you. Yeah, brain fart today.
She was North Dakota.
David, was that the first time that you heard about it when they contacted you in 2017?
I had heard about it, but I hadn't done the genealogy. Mm-hmm. What he asked of me, he said, I've completed the European genealogy. Do you have a North American genealogy? And I did. And he disputed some of the things. And then he finally says, what do you know? You're right. There was a Catholic priest that my dad met that had served in the Congo and gotten these 3 fingers cut off, which was the standard punishment. Because remember, the Belgian Congo didn't belong to Belgium, belonged to the King of Belgium personally.
Leopold.
Yeah, Leopold. Yeah. That's why it was called Leopoldville, the capital. And but he, as a priest, was trying to defend the dignity. Again, we're talking pro-life here, right? And so he got reassigned to be a priest at a French Catholic hospital and insane asylum in Montreal. And then he came down to visit. And
I think we better wrap it up.
Yeah,
because we're getting
anyway. So
I mean, listen, I would say I don't want to do this. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I mean, all of this because the reason I'm saying that is because I don't know if you're familiar with the whole partitioning of Africa. See, that's what I'm saying, because if we get into that,
right?
It goes back to 1870, and I think it was King Leopold.
Yeah.
They had another Leopold earlier. It was 18.
Leopold's the first, second, eighth.
So it was in the 1870s.
It's like Louis of France.
And he called this conclave of Europeans, and that's how they ended up. It was called the partitioning of Africa.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people attribute the continued violence in Africa to that and said they did it on purpose, because what they did, they redrew the borders. Mm-hmm. And so what they did, they'd take tribes that were enemies and they would do the borders. So these tribes that were enemies are now in the same country. They're supposed to survive in the same country. And so it created perpetual war.
Tribal warfare.
Exactly. Yeah. And so they knew that they would never be a threat to Europe if they did that. I mean, it's some crazy, crazy stuff when you think about all this.
7 more seconds here.
Yeah, no.
The reason I wanted Bridenstine to talk to Nikki Haley is because I felt like the UN was trying to create a problem for Trump. He just come into office. They're trying to embarrass the United States in this. And I think they've got a point. But nonetheless, that was like 60 years ago. And then the other thing I want to say in this that Trump did do was just last month, the leader of Rwanda and Congo came to the White House and signed a peace deal.
Yeah.
And Trump That's another one of his great successes. Did you see it yesterday?
Yeah, Armenia
Yeah.
and what was the Azerbaijan?
Azerbaijan.
Mhm.
Now they need
Another one.
Armenia and Turkey to bury
The
the
most
ashes.
beautiful unscripted moment. The press asked, something about Nobel Peace Prize, asking the Armenian, do you think he should? And then Azerbaijani president said, I think Armenia and Azerbaijan shall make a joint letter
Wow.
nominating him. So that was, not only are we going to quit killing each other, let's work on a project together to honor this man sitting between us. I thought that was the coolest unscripted
He's
moment.
the peace president.
He really is.
Yep.
Really is.
All right, guys. Well, we could go on forever. It's funny, but it's just getting good. We need to set aside a Saturday where that's all we do. Just talk European and world history and things that people may not know about, and educate the public. Because seriously, this stuff it's very important, because it gives background to a lot of the issues that we're going through today.
But we can't close without introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from.
I'm Alto Oosterlo. I'm from the Netherlands, and I came here in 1983, August 1st.
Nice.
And
Where did you first come to? Tell them where you came to.
I landed at JFK and then boarded a plane to Dallas, and I stayed with an uncle of mine who at the time lived in Corsicana. And I started taking care of some of his activities near Terrell, Texas, where he had a huge project of 2,000 acres. It was a subdivision project. And then a year later, Mom and Dad came on vacation. We were dairy farmers in Holland. I was involved in dairy farming. We were a small dairy farm family. Mm-hmm. And Dad fell in love with Texas. And he looked at me and he said, just say the word.
Yeah.
And I said, what? And so the EU became very oppressive. Mm-hmm. I had seen the early signs of it. Dad was kind of a visionary and said it was just going to get worse, and it has. Mm-hmm. And it created a small exodus of dairy farmers out of Holland, not just Friesland, but over the whole country of Holland where there are dairy farmers. And a lot of them came to Texas, some to West Texas, some to Northeast Texas. Mm-hmm. And at the height of it, there were at least over 100 dairy farms in Texas alone that all came from Holland, because daughters and sons were ready to continue the tradition of dairy farming, and moms and dads were ready to take that adventure on, not knowing the language, not knowing the customs, and not really willing to retire. And
then the hot Texas sun. Yeah, now that had to have been something.
Well, we were not scared of hot weather, but the interesting thing is, the word used to be, you can go to Texas and start a dairy farm. Just find yourself a hill, put the dairy parlor on the hill. When it rains, everything just flows down, no more problems. And you got some wind on the hill, and the cows don't have to go inside because the summers are mild. They're not.
East Texas.
Texas summers are really, really rough on cows.
Yeah,
and the most, if not all, dairy farms that you see now, they are completely confined with sprinklers and fans in order you take care of the cow will take care of you.
And they have shelter, like where they eat.
Under roofs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Guernseys,
by the way,
Jerseys, what?
No,
Holsteins. Okay.
Yeah, but there's a Friesian cow. There's the
Holstein Friesian cow.
Holstein Friesian.
Okay,
yeah, they have their own cow.
Well, the Holstein Friesian cow it came from Friesland, just like the Friesian horse. And of course,
no, it's telling you, there's like over 400 or 500 different strains of dairy cows.
Oh yeah, we had Jersey mixes in our, but not the Jersey cow itself is a lot smaller.
A lot of cream though.
There's one dairy farmer, I'm not sure if he still is in business, but he just milks straight Jerseys, and he has smaller stalls.
Oh, the butter fat though is awesome.
Yeah. For real.
See, I know a thing or two. I'm growing up around.
I know that.
Yeah. So, all right.
All right.
Thank you for introducing yourself.
He's here to pick up some coffee.
Fresh black coffee.
Some
There you
fresh
go.
black coffee. He's here for us. Hey, Alto, yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming in and joining us. And
Thank you.
we will talk to the rest of you here next week. So thank you again for joining us, and we'll talk to you then.